I really think that there's been a sorely missed opportunity for developers to take a step back from competition and take a step forward with community.
Mm,
Um, and if they do that, I think we all win, because community, I would argue, is the one thing that no one's trying to solve.
mhm,
We're trying to solve recruitment. We're trying to solve competition. Tell me, where's community?
mhm.
Honestly, any one of you, go ahead. Shout out what's the national community for Scholastic right now. Any title, tell me.
Yeah.
Where do I go? How do I meet and hang out?
Of the
How
storm.
does you?
Community
Yeah.
0.
There's
Yeah.
nothing. It
That.
doesn't exist anymore. And it doesn't exist statewide. It doesn't exist school wide. It doesn't exist region wide. It doesn't exist nationally. It doesn't exist digitally on Twitch. It doesn't exist digitally on Discord. It doesn't exist through any form of skill based development. It doesn't exist on any form of skill based learning or just pure socialization and fandom.
Mhm.
Huge missed opportunity. You want to take their time and make it more efficient, in my opinion. Tell Riot Scholastic politely to stop what they're doing with competitive, and their integration with LCS should be, Twitch, symposiums and summits and conversations and learning and uh, all sorts of wonderful things, and promoting camps and educational learning activities and RSSA sponsored curriculum. That will move the needle. I don't see any of that.
So Chris, that was pretty much the last topic. You kind of wrapped it in a nice package called community. And I was kind of thinking more from an organizer and a broadcaster point of view around growing fandom. And how do we get fandom around collegiate esports to look more like traditional sports across the board? And that helps us go out and sell sponsorships in the place, of which trickles down to all our member schools that we represent. But when we go to brands and we can't check that box of, 1 billion impressions and 1 million views, we still are challenged with selling those sponsorships. So my last and final is, do we have any secrets around how to grow fandom or grow community on, let's just start with on campus.
I
I got
mean,
the big one real quick.
Okay.
Best way to grow community: food nights. It has nothing to do with playing the game. I'll give you a real life example. We used to do dollar burger night at the University of Cincinnati. We'd just go out to Bar Louie. We used to have dollar burgers every Wednesday. We'd post in at this time it was Facebook groups, tell people where to show up. 6 people, 12 people showed up the first week. By the third month, we had 40 plus people coming. And it was the biggest revenue night of the week for Bar Louie every week, purely because of us. But we had friendships, we had relationships, we had roommates, we had all sorts of great, wonderful things come from that. And that translated to our lands, our club meetings, and everything from that.
Mhm.
It was nothing beats food nights.
just like pro sports, we need to focus on tribalism. And the way that you create tribalism is you have to prioritize in-person experience, in my opinion. I think that there's a lot of companies trying to become unicorn online platforms, but at the end of the day, I think we need pockets and hubs around the country that serve as regional and local hubs.
Mhm.
Um, once you get a group of people together that share their love for the team that is on their campus, they start to develop a bond around that. You can do that online, but it won't be nearly as effective.
Mhm.
Professional esports is having this tribalism problem because it's the majority of it's online. It's resulted in um, fans following players more so than the teams.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the ECAC. It's Rainbow Six Siege. It's week 8, some of our last games taking place here. Tonight, you will see Fisher College versus Trine University. I'm Corbeck, and alongside me is Sugar. And Sugar, I know we've seen Trine before. I think we might have seen Fisher as well. What do you make of this matchup here tonight?
Um,
both teams are between the 1 through 4th spot, at least for who is it? Fisher? Yeah, no, Trine actually. They're in a three-way tie between two other teams, and then for Fisher, it's kind of like they're in that 4th place spot, stuck in a four-way race. But this is the last week of the ECAC region, or at least for Siege it is, and both of these teams have their place in that playoff spot. So this is mostly just a match mainly for bragging rights and also just seeding. So I'm excited to see what both teams come up with here tonight.
Yeah, I think it promises to be an interesting one. Let's take a look at the maps here tonight. I think these might be sort of interesting as well. You can see them coming up there across the bottom of your screen. It'll be Chalet, it'll be Cafe, and it'll be Oregon. So at least the first one a little bit interesting, Sugar.
Yeah, I mean, Chalet, at least in the competitive pool, ever since it's been reintroduced, or not even reintroduced, ever since it got its rework and it's been introduced into the competitive map scene, it's been a favorite amongst the competitive scene.
Oh yeah.
You never hear people complain about seeing it too much. You never hear professional teams or professional players say, "Oh, we see Shelly too much. We don't like this map," or "Bore again, snore again, Clubhouse vanilla, all that crap." You don't have that for Shelly because everybody loves this map, and I love it too. It has a special place in my heart. I don't think I could ever find a way to hate this map. What's going to be very interesting though is the second map, which is Cafe.
Yeah, Cafe is another one that I do think is a bit maligned, and perhaps rightly so. I mean, it's a big box with 3 floors, right? But it's certainly a challenging map, and I feel like every time I see teams play it, there's always a little bit of a weird dynamic there, especially when you start getting towards the tertiary bomb sites. People collapse very easily on Cafe, I think is the thing that I've noticed. But we'll conquer Chalet first, the ski lodge, before we get to the Cafe. And let's see if they bring out anything interesting in bans. I mean, we've seen some, suspect bans in the past here in the ECAC, but nothing I feel that's incredibly egregious. And, well, a Flores ban out the gate, that's not incredibly egregious at all.
Yeah, no, Flores is a common ban on this map. I feel like when it comes to certain maps, Cafe and Chalet in particular, when it comes to certain maps such as
Oop, might be. You're good. You're good. Just making sure we haven't lost you. Well, I mean, taking a look at the rest of these bands here that we see, you've got a zombie being taken out, and unfortunately, I see a ping coming in there that there's already a crash, so it's going to have to take a quick pause here in the midst of our bands, which is unfortunate because it cuts out something that I couldn't quite, I can't quite finish here. Kyrios Mars will be the offending player who's going to have to come back in just a moment, but Azami, Thatcher, Flores, these should surprise nobody. I mean, the interesting fact of the matter is, of course, that you will still see Nook on the board. Kind of the Danish demon has plagued a lot of Siege lately, and that has been, I would say, incredibly problematic across the board. It looks like they want to finish bans before they before they take their pause, but I don't know that they get to say that at all. The Tommy ban being taken out here, I would not be surprised if we would see probably on the backside of this. Amira is usually where a lot of people like to go. Interestingly enough, the Mira problem remains pretty persistent. Players not a big fan of that particular operator, despite, I would say, her decreasing value on certain maps. I don't know if you're back with us here, Sugar, but feel free to jump in anytime. As I just discuss these these operator bans to the best of my ability. I mean, Azami of all the operators has slotted the best, I think, back into a new meta. She really is quite strong. I'm always surprised when I see her left unbanned, and I'm always surprised, by the way, when players don't pick her up after she is unbanned. Obviously, if I was picking in this ban phase, I think the logical choice to me would be a Valkyrie. That would be someone I would always want to take off the board, but I am perhaps overly reliant on the information game. If you really wanted to put a monkey wrench in the plans of any team that is familiar with this map, it would be a Wamai. But in 5 seconds, we'll have our reveal here, and it is going to be the Valkyrie. So the sensible ban there, Mira not falling prey to that, but understandable given Mira's, I'd say, relative lack of utility on this map.
Yeah, I wanted to make a point about Flores though. Like, I will add on a little bit about Mira and why she is like such an influential band on this map, especially when you think of how well she can set up on the basement as well as the second floor sites. Banning Valkyrie ensures that there's a lack of intel that the defense has to work off of, meaning that they'll probably have to play more behind other pieces of utility, such as mutes, jammers, such as maybe even Amazi if they decide to bring that over, Malusi gadgets, Vulcan canisters, smoke grenades. We're not going to see a smoke here, but we will see a Goyo instead. But as for the Flores, especially on maps like Chalet and Cafe, which is the two, I feel like whenever I've watched competitive play at least, Flores is commonly banned on Chalet and Cafe just due to how important power positions are on both of those maps.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And I mean, you look at a site like this, basement, pretty classic. Flores can get a ton of value here if used correctly. So I'm not surprised to see him go. I am a little bit interested in this lineup. I think the choice of the Goyo here instead of the smoke is an interesting one. I don't necessarily disagree with anything else that they've done. I mean, obviously the Vulcans have spectacular area denial potential. I just continue to think of smoke as such an effective operator for their adaptability in those late game scenarios at the very least. But nothing on the side of Trine here either. I think particularly surprising, a pretty standard setup. I do kind of wonder what take they're going to go for here, though, whether they're actually going to try and push the garage door or whether they're going to come from a different angle. I mean, the presence of Big O Killer here on the Thermite, that could indicate a garage take, but none of their positioning indicates that's what they're looking for. Oh, no.
Okay, well, Beezer gets the first kill onto Squirrely, so that takes out 2 pairs of nades, or one of 4 pairs of nades on the side of Trine, and takes out a lot of intel gathering potential in that Ayana. They didn't really do an effective clear in that first floor. They just kind of jumped in and hoped to take space on that bar area, and instead they paid with it with their lives, but at least they find a trade back onto Rope, so they even out the man count for now, but Trine looking a little bit sloppy early on.
Yeah, I mean, I think they might have misinterpreted exactly where the defenders were. I don't think they expected the drop down there necessarily, but now they've kind of gone in half cock on the top floor on that as well, and that allows Cappy to just swing in and pick up a kill onto Kyrios Mars, them of the crashing computer. Beezer now walking back down the hallway, trying to take those stairs, maybe see if they can get a little peek up into the main corridor, but Trine struggling to find a good position here, if I'm being honest. They don't really seem to have anything particular to their advantage column right now. They do at least have 2 lion pings left on the board, and you would really like to see Marquini use them before they get taken down. But with all these roamers here, I just don't know that they're going to even be able to get close to the point.
Yeah, you also have to keep in mind that Goyo canister still exists. So Beezer, there may, even because they don't have a smoke on the side of Fisher, they may have some Vulcan canisters instead, holding that blue area of the map down as Maple is able to find another kill into the Marquini. So even if they do find a kill into Beezer, you still have a bunch of utility that's going to deny you a lot of space into that site.
And well, already some shots being exchanged up there. Beezer getting 2. Mini Muma picks up 2 kills with the pistol. You have to be kidding me. That's how they even this up. Meanwhile, the Thermite has actually managed to breach the door here. So that's a great move by Big O Killa. You'll see Mini Muma now working their way down the stairs. Those Vulcan canisters we already mentioned have come into their own, though, and are delaying this, providing the defenders with time to set up. But a long-range gun height here between Yali and Big O Killer playing on the door. Yali gets picked off there. Big O Killer finally swinging in, now going here for the plant. Cappy looking the opposite direction. The smoke forces them to adjust their sight line. Looking over towards the basement stairs, they will not find the shot, and Cappy is brought down, and that is the end of the first round.
The way that Trine were able to work their picks throughout the middle of that matchup, really well done, especially when they found themselves at an early man disadvantage, losing 2 pairs of nades and also just losing a body early on. That is very good for their clear throughout the whole map. At least in terms of that Ayana. But then for Fisher, I felt like they kind of gave up picks really, really easily. And instead of just playing on site where they should have been, they kind of overextended their roam. They gave away too many picks, very careless on that roam, and instead of, just playing back to site, they overcommitted and gave away picks. But now we go back into basement, so at least Fisher can recuperate their mistakes, because I don't think they did anything wrong in an early round situation. They got their picks, they just didn't seem to know when to back off of that first floor and to just give that control over to the attackers instead.
Yeah, always a bit of a difficult issue right there. And I mean, I can't necessarily blame them for that one. I think Fisher felt relatively confident with their positioning. I mean, they had so many roamers, so many different angles you can hit from. I'm certain they didn't expect Mini Muma to get 2 kills with the pistol in the middle of all of that. So sort of changed the dynamic, the calculus of that round relatively quickly. Defensive setup going to remain entirely the same here. And honestly, Trine's going to attack with the exact same lineup as well. So we'll get a good opportunity here to see if Fisher changes up how they want to go. But speaking of changes up how they want to go, Trine taking a very aggressive position here, starting off with the Thermite, 2 mute jammers down. That's one of them disabled. That's both of them disabled right there. Here comes the charge. Nothing they can do about it. But the Volcan, that's an ugly push in for Mini Muma, who gets clipped by that fire and forced to fall back.
Yeah, you can tell with the way that Fisher has this setup, especially with their operator lineup, they knew exactly what Trine were going to go for. That fire does a lot of damage onto Mini Muma, plus wastes their time on the execute and gives Fisher some time to recuperate their positions in order to deny the plant when it does come in eventually. That's a nice kill, though, from Beezer to open us up. And Trine still trying to go for a default push with Squirrely on the backside.
Squirrely might be the person in motion right here, though. I don't think entirely marked. Even there, you see those grenades coming in and getting eaten by the ADS. It's not pulling Yali off of that front door position at all. Meanwhile, Mini Muma seems to have established control, at least to the library on the 2nd level, and is now hunting Beezer. And that'll give you a bit of a broader view here of what's going on. You see at least one of the defenders still up on the top deck right there. An exchange of gunfire, but nobody quite going down just yet. I say that, and Squirrely, who is sneaking up on the backside, gets caught out and brought down by Maple. So a 5-3 now for Trine as they try to push forward. There comes the Lion Ping to assist them, but it doesn't reveal anyone, so the intel not really that useful. Big wide swing here from Marquini, who's firing a couple of LMG rounds into the point, but no joy on those either. Just a real game of peaks right here with no side coming out on top.
The Vulcan canister is doing a lot of work on that main stairs to delay that push there from I believe that is Mini Muma. Yeah, Mini Muma on those stairs. As we see 2 kills come out, 1 for each team. A Nitro Cell comes out to delay more time in that push, but Mini Muma just keeps finding kills. And you remember last round, this was the same player who found a 3K to claw Trine back into that round when they shouldn't have really any business getting back into it in the first place. So hopefully history does not repeat itself.
A series of grenades coming out from the lifeline right there, but that'll be the last action that Mini Muma does. Maple just swings around the corner and gets the kill. Now stepping up into the breach, Marquini, who does recover the diffuser, and this is a 2v1 gun battle right here. Not very good one. Yali just pops the corner and collects as soon as the bullets from their teammate go in. So another successful round there for the defenders to dovetail on a successful round for the other side. So interesting, kind of even footing here.
Yeah, the way that Fisher played that was like extremely well. A lot better than the very first round, where when they got that early round advantage or when they got that early pick, they didn't really know how to work, early picks. They didn't really know how to work off of that and instead kind of overcommitted on that 1st to 2nd floor roam that they had. That time, they didn't really do a lot of that. You saw most of the players, when they got those first few picks, Fisher just decided to play side a little bit more, which was a great idea from them. Also, their setup on basement, I really, really liked, especially with the Goyo canisters on that main wall of the garage, holding off that push, and also having a Vulcan canister on those main stairs, holding off the main stairs pressure, doing a lot of job to disrupt the early momentum that Trine is trying to gain, especially Beezer, who's been really, really good at finding the early picks in the opening 2 rounds.
Yeah, Beezer has been doing a great job on that roaming position, and keeping them on the alibi, I think, is a very advisable choice. Interesting, they haven't really taken the tools here on the defense that I would expect for a library corridor hold. I mean, they've made some of the inroads to that. They have a shield on the top of the stairs, for example, but they only have the Jaeger. They haven't also brought along the Wamai, who you so often see playing that position up there in that corridor. Thank you very much, Observer, for showing what I had right there, or what I was talking about. That will, I think, give a bit of an advantage here to Trine. It's simply not going to be easy for Fisher to hold that corridor. The ADSs can get burned out. This is a very grenade-heavy lineup at the end of the day, and they have the tools to break through that corridor hold. And of course, once verticality is established in Sugar, I mean, that's just major problems for the defenders on this bar gaming site.
Mm-hmm. A lot of destructibility, like you mentioned, in the hands of the attackers. 4 nades, 2 impacts. You also have the MP impacts as well. Those don't really destroy shields. They don't destroy them at all, but they do disrupt a lot of the supporting utility around those shields. So keep that in mind once Marquini ends up using them, or when or if he decides to use them on the second floor clear. It's taking a while, though, for Trine to kind of find their footing on the map. They're taking, you know, their care in clearing out this office area, making sure that it's completely clear, so that they can find a way to work this second floor in their favor.
Yeah, just almost a little too much time. Honestly, 1 minute, 30 seconds in, and I don't think Trine has really done much more than kind of maneuver at this point in time. Looks like the first stages of their attack, of their assault, let's say, on the library corridor are starting to manifest themselves. And Maple playing really low, actually, looking for something. But again, it's Beaver, third straight first kill in the round right there for Beezer, who honestly has been a huge factor here for Fisher, even in the round that they didn't win. That said, though, Squirrely's pushed up in the library corridor. Whoever was defending that shield down there has been forced to either peel back or was just asleep at the wheel. And it looks like it might have been more of the latter. So I'm not sure why they invested in that shield with such minimal return, such minimal effort on defense, because Maple is all the way back down in bar now, trying to play upwards to a murder hole. As you see Yali here sort of just trapped in the library, waiting for their escape route of their own to materialize.
Ollie's just pinned inside of this corner. They're finding angles. They have full control of the second floor, so they just decide to swing her because they have all of that control. They have so much space to work with, but Beezer's finding a lot of refrags. So is Maple. As Trine, even though they have this second floor control, they can't find the picks to convert it in their favor.
Well, the smoke grenades coming out here in a huge way. Big O Killa waiting to drop into the pit right there, but nobody wants to be the first one to take that plunge. Marquini now apparently trying to bust through the wall, but Big O Killa dies to the smoke canister, and that'll put paid to any dreams Trine had of getting that round off. Just too slow, Sugar, at the end of the day to really get it done, even when they got the position that they needed.
Yeah, we mentioned it during that round as well, that Trine was just taking a lot of time entering the map, making sure that everything was clear, especially on that office side of things, making sure there weren't any stray roamers. And there's not an issue with taking time and taking some of your, not resources as in days and whatnot, but using your drones in order to get as much intel as possible to guarantee you safe entry inside of the building. But Trine didn't really convert that into anything. And like you mentioned, they wasted way too much time clearing that area of the map. They got rid of the shields. They pushed the players of Fisher off of their own utility, off of the shields on the top of library stairs, on the top of mezzanine. Yali was cornered in library. They did a good job eventually of clearing that second floor, but again, they just left it too late, and they also gave up a lot of picks along the way when it came to them just trying to use that second floor to gain some sort of advantage on the site.
Yeah, I agree 100%. you see this lineup that they have now. Beezer has swapped off the Alibi, gone over to a Castle, still bringing the Frost in here. Yali picking up that anchor role of the Echo, which is an interesting choice, over a Smoke or anything like that to get those Yokais into position here for the kitchen dining hold. A Castle, always an interesting choice. Unfortunately, I will say that the addition of Kyrios Mars here on the sledge on the other team, perhaps invalidating the Castle pick just a little bit. It depends on how well Kyrios Mars does at staying alive, whether they can actually bring the Sledge of Sledge into position to render those Castle barricades obsolete. And the way Kyrios Mars is going about this, pretty aggressive positioning right here, does need to be a bit careful because his utility has more value now than it usually does in a lot of rounds.
I want to see the top-down view of that office site, especially on this half wall, because they've just completely, they've left this area of the map completely soft. Fisher clearly having a plan for how they want to hold office, fully reinforcing the master bedroom wall, separating it and office as well. So going for a more piano-heavy push, there's nothing wrong with it, especially when you're having the castle as well, wasting a lot of time and driving a lot of attention towards that utility that's on the second floor. We see Trine to get this main wall and dining open. It opens up a lot of angle towards their advantage, but also I want to see how Fisher end up working the long angles as well, seeing as they have some guns to help them in that favor. No. Oh, at least they find that kill into Marquini, or to Beezer from Marquini. Beezer finally getting shut down early on, but there goes the refrag from Maple. So at least they get rid of the castle who had that shorty in order to make those vertical angles, but you also still have Defrost to make those vertical angles as well to deny that default plant that Trine are trying to go for. So they failed to do a full clear of this map. You see Kyrios Mars actually able to get a kill, so at least Maple isn't on that second floor. That's huge for Trine as they set themselves up for a default here.
15 seconds left. 10 seconds remaining.
They're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way here, pushing in through the front door. The plant will go down. The Yukai with the disruption disappears almost immediately. Will they get another Sonic Burst in? They will. And that was all Fisher needed to do. Good bit of play there from Yali. A bit of a rough attack from Trine, if I'm being honest with you here, Sugar. I don't think they ever really got the pieces into the place where they particularly wanted them to be.
Yeah, and that was all evident due to how they cleared the second floor. They didn't really do a clear at all. They allowed the castle and the frost, even with master bedroom, that wall between master bedroom and office being reinforced. Fisher retook that area as if there was nobody holding the second floor from Trine, and guess what? Because there really wasn't. They didn't really dedicate a lot of resources to that second floor to ensure that they wouldn't be as disrupted on their default plant as humanly possible. Yes, they didn't lose any players to the vertical challenges there from Fisher, but still, that caused so much disruption on that default push behind that dining table for Trine that they struggled to even get a plant down just due to how many vertical angles we saw not only the castle make but also the frost make after he got that refrag onto Marquini on that second floor. So Trine not really having a clear direction to their attacks. It's slowing them down in their executions, and they're not in that last round. They didn't even really do a full clear actually, but even when they try to do a full clear, they don't have enough time for the execute, and that's the big part. That's the big topic with Trine so far in their attacks.
Yeah, I think you've got a good, really valid point right there. Trine, I mean, it's mixture of kind of speed and I think losing the gunfights. It's just, I mean, I I will say, I mean, they've had structure, I think, to a lot of their pushes. They know what they want to do. It's just the execution is perhaps easier than the idea in a lot of these scenarios. But you'll see Beezer here wants to get another first-round pick in the bag if they can. So they're very diligently watching there over that library big window. See if they can be the one to catch it out. Unfortunately, Beezer is the one who's caught out by the drone and is forced to fall back, at least momentarily. There comes the ping in, and once more, the Lion trying to find value here. Marquini's impact on a lot of these rounds, I think, has been a little minimal here with that Lion pick. Beezer now rotating up to the second floor, sort of checking down, seeing if they can catch anyone entering into library, and they do. It's Kyrios Mars who fails the reflex tech, and then Beezer fails a test of their own, cannot decide which way to go, tries to re-engage and gets gunned down, so a 4-4 on the board.
That's unfortunate there from Beezer. He tried to get away, but then I don't really know why he turned back around. Marquini's there for the second, but the refracts have been just as good for Fisher as they have been for Trine, as Yali is there onto Squirrely, who's 0-4 on that main entry role of the Ayana. And again, I mean, that's your main Ayana player. That's a lot of intel. That's nades as well that you didn't even get an opportunity to use. So trying a little bit short on their utility game coming to the later stages of that round. And it's made even worse now that you lose that Sophia, who still had some launchers in her back pocket.
They do indeed. Marquini now beginning to press down those stairs. That Volcon detonation again, slowing everything down just a little bit. The EMP grenade is used. Keep in mind, Marquini does have another ping of the drone if they need it, but it's Cappy striking from above, finds Marquini, brings him down. That leaves Big Okilla faced with a very unpleasant prospect of a 3v1 here, trying to push into the garage. The Thermite deciding perhaps discretion, the better part of valor, moving around to a position where they can get this gun into a better shooting spot, maybe catch somebody peeking up from the stairs. They don't, and if Big O Killer steps through this door, they're going to be running face first into Cappy. Cappy more than happy to collect that kill, and that thus ends the round. Fisher looking solid on their defense here on Chalet.
Oh man, it feels like it's not a 5-1 half. I thought completely it was a 5-1 half. At the moment, Fisher completely dominant so far, at least on their defenses, at least on the scoreboard. And Trine seemingly, again, not really, for me, it just doesn't seem like they have really any direction to their attacks. They can't really get themselves into a proper position for the execution phase. Time is consistently running low for them. They know what they want in terms of where they want to get control, but when it comes to actually trying to execute that idea, they seem to fall very short and fall very flat in that, and that's gonna be a consistent issue. If it's this hard on Chalet, then I worry how it would look on a defender side of the map, such as Cafe, when we eventually do get to it, because it is our second map, as a reminder to those who have just tuned in to the ECAC R6 scene.
Yeah, I think a 5-1 here for Fisher, very much in the cards. Interesting changes in the lineup, though, that they are bringing to this particular site. The Thorn edition of Yali, that's an interesting choice, in my opinion. Maple coming out here on the Frost, that's basically in line with what they did. And interestingly enough, it looks like Robe is picking up it'd be Smoke this time around, which we haven't seen an awful lot of Smoke play out of this Fisher side on the defense, so I'm glad to see that they finally engaged in that. Very curious what they to see what they do with Yali on the Thorn. I think of all the operators in this setup, that is the one that I'm most intrigued by.
I don't know, I've always liked a good Thorn pick. Especially when she first got released and teams started to, or well, not released, but when she first started to get allowed to be played inside of comp. A lot of pro players have found a lot of value, at least when stopping default plants and stopping certain entrances around the map. And speaking of doing as such, Big O Killer, the first kill in this game, that's your Habana off of the board. And Heartbreaking isn't that important, at least depending on how you clear it, but with the way that Trine are set up, especially on office, you want an extra angle on the wall behind a half-wall in office towards Library Hall, and they won't really have that option now since they lose their only hard breacher.
A bit of a calm pacing here from the team. Cappy rotating down, and this is sort of falling into what Trine has talked, or problem Trine has had in the past, where they sort of go a little too slow here. About 1 minute and 30 seconds left, and they still have a ways to go on this map if they want to be in a position where they can threaten these 2 bomb sites. You'll see now, I mean, the moves are being made, but they haven't really set themselves up in a position where this is going to be particularly easy. Cappy's still holding at the mine stairs. Beezer still with the crossfire there as well. And as that clock continues to tick down, I really don't see the adaptation that's coming out here from Trine. It's not as if they're trying to come from a different angle or anything like that. I think maybe they're thinking about it at the moment. Maybe they've shifted at least squarely down to the low ground. Cappy does take a little bit of damage finally. And that's the first spot of daylight they've had.
Ooh, Yali gets away with her life as it seems like Fisher has completely abandoned the second floor, but squarely finds their positioning on the pool, on the game's window, finds 2 picks for their liking as Beezer and Rope fall. So does Maple, as Trine out of nothing has found their main advantages. They've found their positionings around the map, and Yali has found herself in a 1v4. Gonna be in that pantry area, but won't even see the first player that comes into contact with her. Squarely to end off that round as we see the half in favor of Fisher, still 4-2, but at least try and get a lifeline back as they switch over to the defense.
Oh, I feel like that was a round that Fisher had no reason to lose right there, if I'm being honest with you, Sugar. I just did not like what we were seeing from Trine. But at the end of the day, I mean, whether by accident or by intention, they kind of set up a good set of crossfires there and just went to work. And the members of Fisher didn't really know what to do in that scenario. So Trine, I think, gets away with a bit of a steal right there on that round and maintains the 4v2. I mean, I think it is worth pointing out at this juncture, though, that historically, or traditionally, let's say, since its reincarnation, Chalet is an attacker-favored map. It's one of the few maps in the pool that genuinely favors attackers more than it favors defenders. So Fisher going into this with 4 up, I think, is probably very advantageous for them in all scenarios.
It depends on how Fisher attacks this, because we saw a pretty poor attacking half from Trine, all things considered, considering the map that Chalet is, it being attacker-sided like you just previously stated. If it could be that both teams just don't really have good attacks. They just have like really strong defenses. It happens a lot in a competitive scene. Like there's a lot of teams out there, even at like the T1 level, who are great on defense, but they completely suck on the attack. And I hope that's not the case for Fisher, but we won't know until we see. So first round for Fisher on the attack, you see already that they're kind of setting up the way that they want to try and challenge these angles, challenge these positions from Trine. As you see Maple try and make a push happen on the first floor or on a basement area. As for the other half of Fisher, they're pushing onto the library area.
Maple trying to find a thread a needle here with the bullets from the G36. Can't quite do it. Beezer instead moving into position with a firebolt. They barely even need it. I hope he didn't throw both of his firebolts in there, but I swear I heard that crossbow fire twice. He did. Bit of an issue, but that's okay. We'll put it in the back pocket. I mean, seeing a Capital plate is unique enough. He's more of a scalpel type operator. He really requires a deft hand to get maximum value out of him. So it's an interesting choice. You see things getting a little weird here for Fisher, though. The diffuser is dropped. None of them going down, though, so that's just a safety check at the moment as they begin to push their way into Library, where Mini Muma will feel the pressure almost immediately. Curious Mars here could step up for some helpful crossfire as well.
It's a different push than what we saw from Trine, who completely pushed from that northeastern side of the map, that whole office piano area of the map, whereas for Fisher, you can tell they're going for a more direct take towards Library. They already get that first kill, remove a player in that Library position. Now it's all about connecting the other pieces to the puzzle on this second floor, which is removing Curious Mars and Mini Muma. I think Mini Muma takes first priority, but Maple just jumps into the window of Library, loses their life, and Yali's on the floor as well, but at least Fisher even out the man count.
An ugly opening set of kills right there for both teams, but it's kept equal, like you said, Sugar. So I think that's a slight advantage to the attackers, at least for now. Beezer's going to be the next one who steps up into the breach. Sees over there that the ADS are still active. The shield is still in place. Rove trying to set up for a bit of a different angle. Wow, pop-up headshot there from Rove to take down Big O Killa, and that'll put it at a 3v2. Marquini and Curios Mars, the only ones left kicking, and they've both fallen back towards the site. Curios Mars playing that midpoint on the stairs right here, ready to pop out at a moment's notice. As again, on the top deck, they're doing some checking. They've got to start making moves, though. They're taking a little too long here, I think, for my liking. And that'll be Beezer who drops instantaneously. Curios Mars picking up a kill almost simultaneously as well. And then Marquini, with all the ease of a seasoned pro, just leans out from cover and picks up a nice headshot to clean it up.
At the end there, got a little bit sloppy for Fisher in terms of the execution. Instead, opting to drop over mezzanine and go for the main entrances inside of the site, forcing themselves into the line of sight of the defenders of Trine, who were just waiting for them to entry in there. It was a great initial clear at first from Fisher to clear out library, going for a more direct take, but then you saw it get sloppy in the middle of that, especially with Maple just jumping into library randomly, losing their life, losing 2 pairs of nades, and Fisher not really clearing that second floor as effectively as they wanted to. They eventually did, but again, that execution part of it was very sloppy. But the last 2 players there from Trine did really well to hold their ground and hold their angles.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they did a good job in terms of their collapse, right? One of the things that you see from teams that often struggle on the defense is it takes them a while to get everybody back in those sort of scenarios. But for the remaining 2 members of Trine, there was like no hesitation that they were going to drop right back into positions that they felt comfortable defending. And then at that point, I mean, Fisher is just stuck in a scenario where they really have to keep the push going. Looking at Trine's defense lineup, it's actually kind of interesting this time around. Squirrely bringing in the Kapkan, and you'll see a Kaid being played here, I think, for the first time in the match. So 2 very interesting choices right there. Curios Mars picking up the Aruni again as well. I mean, always interesting to see a Kapkan on the board. He's an interesting operator if you use him correctly. And it definitely is going to put a little bit of pressure here on Fisher to be extra careful with their droning, extra careful with their entries, because you never quite know where those traps are waiting.
Oh, Squarely moves himself into a really good position in that bar area, into games under that big window where Robe is standing just beside. And he's not going to be droned here because Fisher already droned this area, so if somebody just jumps in through this window, they will probably meet their demise unless Squarely decides to get impatient, and he does. Has to readjust his movements, moves himself into that pantry area, and again, he's just not missing the mark necessarily, but he's literally just getting away by the skin of his teeth because, again, Fisher aren't detailing or aren't really droning this area a lot because they've already droned it again, gonna drone it a second time. So at least they have that knowledge, but Yali doesn't get that call in time and falls early. So that's already the thermite on the board, especially on a dining room kitchen site. That's big. Wow.
Ooh, good effort here from Squirrely holding out in games. Maple will finally shut it down, but not before Squirrely has inflicted some serious punishment on Fisher. Their hard breacher gone, their sledge gone, and the attack by Fisher looking relatively pedestrian at the moment. They just have not found the opening that they want. Cappy on the 0, I mean, has done some good work getting them intel, allowing them perhaps to push forward, but there's no capitalization here from the members of Fisher. There's no real spirit de corps, no effort to get aggressive. This is probably about the first thing that we're going to see here is Cappy challenging this breach.
Well, at least they still have a hard breach charge in the hands of Cappy. Maple has that diffuser as well to rotate coming soon there from Cappy in order to find something on this main wall of dining. Maple finding a headshot though onto Big O Killer. At least they get this entry open inside of the site. Hopefully that Nitrocell doesn't hits there onto Cappy. As you see the rest of Fisher just get their positioning set up, but Maple getting caught out on the main wall breach does die. Beezer on West Main does find a kill as well. So 1v2 though, as Cappy is all by his lonesome. Has to find 2 more kills with about 10 seconds left to go. And it's trying to win out their 4th round, tied up. As for the most part, they have been playing catch up with Fisher, but now since we see them switch onto that defense, they've been able to mount themselves a comeback here, Corbett.
Interesting, by the way, that Trine has shown it's themselves to be so capable on the defense. I'm not sure exactly what's going on the Fisher side. They don't look particularly comfortable in this attacking role, and I thought that they would be a little bit better coming in than this, but they just don't look like they really know what they want to do a lot of the time. There's a lot of holdups, and then, of course, I mean, they've just gotten caught. Squirrely picking up 2 kills from games is a classic example of something that really shouldn't have been allowed to happen. So, I mean, as much as Trine is playing better, I think some of the onus for this current scoreline sits on Fisher as well for just not really performing up to the standard that they demonstrated on their defensive half.
That's what we mentioned, right? I was curious to see how Fisher would perform on the attack. So far, it's not been so great, but they still have time to fix their mistakes. I was gonna come up with a more fancier word, but they have an opportunity in this upcoming round to fix their mistakes. Why? Because Trine have went to the worst site here on Chalet, which is master bedroom and office. You get that main wall open behind that half wall in office. You get an easy default plant down, and you can just win the round based off of that. It's as easy as that. It's as easy as it sounds. It's so easy to also deny piano control in a defense if you're just set up on that main piano window. So I think it's a lot of potential for the attack to find a round here. This is an easy, I feel like this should be an easy round here for Fisher, but it's all about how they set themselves up on this round, where they plan to attack, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be that default take towards office, but instead maybe a first floor take up into Solarium.
It's interesting that the Nomad used the air jab on the outside window of all places. I guess they're a little bit afeared of a run out right there, though I don't really see Fisher as the kind of team, or I should say Trine as the kind of team that's going to engage in that sort of behavior. Maple here just quick peeking the corner, firing a couple of little tippy taps up towards that murder hole, making sure nobody's hiding back there. But it's Squirrely who strikes first, and it's Beezer. They have the first kill who goes down. Maple, though, immediately levels it back up, catches Marquini looking, engages in a gunfight, won't win it. That's 2 kills in quick succession there for Trine, and suddenly a 2v4 situation here for the remaining Fisher attackers, and Trine sitting easy on the defense, not having much of a hard time at all here.
Fisher in this round, it's a lot different from the previous few rounds where it's just been, they haven't found a way to properly, it's like what Trine had trouble with, right? Not really having any idea of what their execution or how to really set up their push. Instead, it's Fisher are going for a more direct take in this round. They're going for more direct gunfights, and they're losing a lot of them, but at least Yali has found a kill on this first floor. Clears out that dining room area finally, but it's a 3v2 in favor of Trine. You still haven't really opened up any sight lines in this master bedroom site. Now you have, or I think that is below actually, to make Mini Muma move, but they weren't in that position in the first place. Cappy, though, finding that kill, evening out the man count. They are going to open up an extra silent light onto master bedroom. 40 seconds left on the board for Fisher to make their move.
Well, good sightline there from Squirrely, and it pays off big. Squirrely finds the next one as well. The alibi denies Fisher the chance to pick up a round win, and that will be that. Try moving up to 5-4 here on Chalet, so the tables have turned on Fisher after their initial good start on the defense.
I wonder if Fisher is going to take a timeout. I feel like this would be a great opportunity to do so because you haven't won a single attack. You were up 4-2 at one point. Easily could have been a 5-1 half in their favor. And then when they go into the defense, it seems like the mentality has changed. It seems like the turns have tabled. And Trine have found themselves in a lead on 5-4. Hopefully, we see Fisher end up fixing their mistakes on this attack, because so far it's just been the same thing for them as it has been for Trine. Very directionless attacks, very slow as well when it comes to their execution. They seem to be very confused on how to pull that off. And it's been consistent throughout this whole matchup. And like I said, it's not really just Fisher doing this, it's Trine as well. But it just so happens that Trine, they've already had their attacking half, now they're on the defense. And they've already put themselves here on the lead, and they have a good opportunity, especially with the way that these defenses have gone. They have a great opportunity to put themselves up on match point.
Looking here, you'll see, a pretty standard attacking lineup. Again, the one operator who continues to be a little bit vexing is Beezer on that Capital. Now, they used Capital last time to try and bust open the library defense to minimal success. They wasted both of their fire arrows on it, and I don't think we ever saw Capital throw smoke. Squirrely is the one who's holding that position. Last time, I believe it was Yali who was up there. No, I actually can't remember. No, Yali's on the other team. I can't remember who they set in this position, but it did not go well. That'll be the early pick right there onto a Gemini. So Squirrely giving away the ghost, but knows where he is. Tries to swing out, actually gets clipped from the other side. And I mean, the Doc can do this. Here comes that fire arrow in over the top. Both of the firebolts used. Squirrely trying to out-heal the fire. This is ridiculous. Will actually manage to do it twice. I don't think they can do it a third time, though. They'll survive both of the Capital firebolts, but they will not survive the frag grenade from Maple right there.
Having to use, oh my god, okay, well, Mini Mooma literally heard the taps, was literally tapped at, and he still decided to hold that angle, so that's absolutely insane. But there you go, Fisher doing a really good clear onto the library side, combining their utility well, making Squirrely use all of his overhills, and then using that final nade, seeing as Squirrely didn't really have a lot of, actually he did, he had I'm pretty sure he had some of my discs because I heard it go off, but again, Fisher burning all of that utility quite early, using their asphyxiation bolts in order to make Squirrely use his overhills, and then using that nade to actually confirm that kill, and then Mini Mooma getting tapped at Maple, giving mezzanine control over to the attacker. So really good stuff from Fisher early on, and ensuring that the second floor is no longer in Trine's favor, putting themselves in a good position to potentially take this round.
Certainly, it's one of their better attacking efforts so far. Yali there opening up a little bit of a murder hole. I was going to say, you need to be careful of that. Actually fires back on it, tries to destroy some of those X-Kairos pellets, which stops the hole from being too big, but enough that it's a serious issue. Kyrios Mars, meanwhile, picks up a kill onto Yali, the one who opened that up, so didn't quite go as expected. Rope now making their way around the entire map, trying to find a new entry route here, as Fisher begins to construct a two-sided push. Smoke coming in now, that'll be a jump in through the window from Cappy, who's waiting for those smokes to get the plant down. Rope and Maple picking up kills. It's a triple kill on the deck for Maple. Here comes Marquini back in. Marquini caught in the crossfire and gunned down. So Fisher will keep it even here on this incredibly close chalet.
I really like that library take there from Fisher when they combine their utilities. I'm going to keep on harping on that because I really like the way they forced him to use all of his overhills, knowing that they had only a few with my disc to clear. I don't think there was any, from what I saw on the observer's POV, I don't think there was any Jaeger ADSs neither, to ensure that even though the Wamai disc or Wamai magnets would be burned, that even if the nades went through, they would get zapped. They didn't have that. So Fisher took full advantage of that, nading him out of his area, forcing those overhills from Squirrely, and then completely overtaking that second floor. And then even though time got low for them, they were very patient in setting up their execute. Something that we didn't see from both of these teams when it came to their attack. They weren't really patient in their execute. When it came to them running low on time, they seemed to just rush inside of sight instead of just taking the time to set up angles and to take the time in order to get that defuse down, etc., etc. We saw Fisher do that, and they got a lot of kills along the way and a lot of value. Also, for Trine in that post plant positioning, you saw the player inside of pantry as well. I thought Marquini was probably going to be a little bit more aggressive, seeing as there was nobody on the big window for Fisher on that damage room execute, but I don't think Marquini knew that, so that's probably why he didn't just run past the smoke or run through it to try and kill that player who was playing in default all by himself with no cover.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a difficult situation. I don't really know that Marquini could have done much more right there. I think by that point in time, it was almost foregone. You know, it just wasn't a good positioning from them. I mean, it was the position they should be playing, but no, they just got outplayed right there. That said, I mean, this has been very close. I don't think I'm sitting here willing to give either team the edge here as we move into round 11. Certainly, Trine has showed great capacity for causing problems to Fisher, especially on the attack, where I feel like Fisher has been lackluster most of the time. Mini Muma up here holding piano could very well be the first point of contact. Marquini on the low ground. Instead, though, it's Kyrios Mars who drops first. So the Aruni dropped early on. All the gates were already out right there, but it does add to a rather unfortunate series here for Kyrios Mars. Only 6 kills on the board. So far. Mini Muma now stepping up into the breach as Squirrely moves up here to provide support as well, but Squirrely gets caught in the crossfire by Cappy. This is some brutal efficiency from Fisher here on these crossfire angles.
Marquini finds one from below in kitchen on that big window. You see the pings come out. They have the intel. Does he not see the arms? Is that blending in with the wall, or am I crazy? He doesn't see the arms, so he's just not... He's having some issues trying to convert that into a kill, and as things stand at the moment with a minute and 10 on the clock, it's still Fisher with this man advantage. Like you said, with quick efficiency on those crossfire angles, removing that top 4 defense from Trine, and kind of making their own home on the top 4. Maple able to find one, but he's quickly taken off the board as he's found his double kill in his round. And then there goes Big O Killer, but Ro from the top of those west main area, finding 2 kills in the last 2 players in dining, and it's Fisher to put themselves on match point when Trine were so close to doing it in the first place.
Fisher trying to eke one out here, though. Regardless, I think we can both agree it's been a little bit more of a hard road than I would imagine they initially expected there between the two sides. It'll be Bar Gaming here that might decide the fate of Trine on map number 1, taking up a similar lineup to what we saw them run here last time, doubling down on projectile denial. Mini Muma and Big O Killer both stepping into the breach. The Doc, I mean, we've already actually seen a Doc up there able to survive 2 Capital Fireball, so I don't think we'll necessarily be seeing that particular effort again. You can see that they've neglected Capital so far in this lineup. They've got the Zofia in here instead. I'll be interested to see if they shift that one around. By the way, should give credit. We said the name a lot. We haven't talked about their individual play too much. Maple sitting on 17-7 here for the side of the Fisher Falcons. Maple has been huge in terms of fragging. Really an outstanding performance and kind of bearing more than the lion's share of their team's kills.
He's been excellent at working the picks. At first, it was Beezer working the early picks, working the first bloods. And then Beezer sort of fell off as he fell into more of a support role, especially when we saw the attacking switch come in for Fisher. You see him more or less in the Capital, so he's had to kind of take a step back on the aggression. Whereas for Maple, you see him kind of shine more on his entry role, which he's doing fantastically so far. He's been able to find so many kills in order to unlock the defense here of Trine, as it's been a difficult role for Fisher so far, like you mentioned earlier. And Maple has made it kind of easier for them in these last 2 rounds, being 17-7 at the moment.
Well, again, just trying to force this library clear and having a little bit of hard time of it, even though it does look like the sole defender has sort of backed off. You'll see Mini Mumas sort of stepping up into a position where they can cover this down. A flurry of grenades, fire from the Capital being sent all into that corner, all in the endeavor to clear out someone who isn't even there. So much util used, and below it all, you can see Squirrely sort of waiting. Might even have a shot up from that position. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see if anybody's unfortunate enough to step in. That's a weird angle. I can't quite tell, but he might have a very thin, almost pixel peek there on anyone who steps in through the library small window. Meanwhile, on the other side of the board, the sledge has busted out a sightline. Squirrely, waiting. Beezer would be the natural one to jump in through there. So is the Capital cruising for a bruising? I don't think we'll know for at least a few seconds, all things considered. Robe, though, in a difficult position as well. 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock, and Fisher not quite where they want to be.
You know, Fisher's just having a hard time figuring out how they want to encounter this library roam. That angle is actually doing jack squat as they still find a way to jump in through that library single window, but there is Squirrely finding his impact on that first floor. 4v4, no team having any real advantages. You lose the Capital. I don't even think he only had one smoke left, so yeah, not really a lot there for him. But Yali's now taken off the board. Again, Heartbreacher's not really that important, but it's still a body gone for Fisher.
3-4 is the count now. Fisher trying to prevent themselves from being sucked into overtime here on Chalet. Maple leans out. 18 kills to their name already. A couple of shots peppered towards the mud room. That's where Kyrios Mars waits, DMR in hand. But it's Cappy who strikes next. Marquini is down. Squirrely losing a significant amount of health. Forced to use the last charge in their stim pistols to stay in this fight. 15 seconds now on the clock. Squirrely firing down the range. Won't fight it. Instead, it's Big O Killer who gets brought down. Maple steps up into the breach, absolutely lit up, but it's Roe picking up another one that's Squirrely down. Kyrios Mars caught in the door, and it's Cappy who steps up big here for this final round and pulls out a Chalet win.
Good victory for Fisher as they find a way back here on the attack. At first, it looked like when Trine switched over to their defenses that Fisher couldn't really tie anything together. It was kind of difficult for them. You saw it a lot of times, especially when it came to them, not really just on the execution, which both teams had immense trouble with, but mainly when it came to just setting themselves up in the first place. I noticed that a lot for Fisher. They really, really did struggle to find a way to implement themselves on the map, whether that be early, whether that be just in the middle of the round, whether it came to converting. Executions, again, were a little bit sloppy, but they found themselves the map here on Chalet, and that's all that matters.
Was a heck of a fight, though, from the side of Trine. Promises to be interesting. Our next map will be Cafe Dostoevsky. We'll be right back with that here on the ECAC after this break.
And specific players on different teams to wherever they are. But I think for collegiate specifically, schools need to create meaningful live experiences. And if we're talking explicitly about fandom, you have to make the students on your campus care about the team first. That's the biggest thing. Either you create a level of pride through community engagement, or through the team itself. At a lot of schools, the groundwork is there for this. Like, there are schools like UBC, Ohio State, with Buckeye Gaming Collective that have clubs that number in the 2,000 to 3,000 range, right? So they have a base to begin with. At a school like Maryville, like, we kind of developed it the opposite way. When I came in and started building our esports program, we had 3 kids in our esports club. And so we've kind of built the team, and then the club has followed, which is kind of the opposite for a lot of schools. But I think that we have to develop tribalism, and that starts with meaningful live events. And the more that these events, the longer that these events continue to be like only online, the
Mhm.
less effective it is in creating
Mhm.
that final goal.
Agreed. Doc, you wrap it up for us, please.
I would just say this: clubs ebb and flow based on their leadership. But if all students, all clubs, all groups are given regular and meaningful invitations to come in, use the space, create what you want out of this, then it will continue to thrive despite the change in leadership. I can just imagine that Cincy student group with Chris heavy in the leadership there just being amazing. But there's not always someone with his skill set at the helm. So you just need to be open and look for opportunities to serve, even though it can be more difficult, especially in the scheduling of the space. I know a lot of people that don't like anybody else but the players they're recruited to use their space. As much as we can, if we want to build community, we have to open the space to people that we wouldn't normally see in there and let them do the types of things that they want to do.
One more thing, so like on a national level though, if we want to raise the general viewership of all of collegiate esports and not just different pockets, that's a hard one because people watch esports to see people do stuff that they're better than them at,
Mhm.
right? So naturally at the collegiate level we're going to be at a lower level than pro, so it's hard to get people to watch for that reason. But what we can sell are narratives and storylines, matchup histories, and as we start to build a longer history of collegiate esports, I
Mhm.
actually truly believe that some of the CLOL storylines are more rich than what exists in an academy
100%.
and the LCS,
Mhm.
but no one's
Yeah.
really covering it. No one's really drilling down into it. No one's creating narrative content. So I think that that's the key to getting people to care about it. Like if there's a storyline, people attach themselves to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add one more thing before we end. The largest organizations on any university campus. This is a very blanket statement. Could be wrong for you. It's right for many. Campus ministry and Greek life are always the largest groups on campus. Why? It's because of the concept of family. Let me explain. With a club or a program, many people identify, oh, I am a gamer, but I am also A, B, C. And usually it's I am A, B, C, and I'm also a gamer. Not everyone is a gamer first and foremost. And you're only going to capture that population
Mhm.
if you're promoting purely competitive and purely esports. And so I said food nights and social activities. I'm really stealing from campus ministry and Greek life because what you want to do to build community at your school is to make it so that the thing that you're doing is the number one thing in the students' lives. Now that's a very selfish thing to say, but it's a true statement. For you to grow the largest community, your community needs to feel that the thing that they're a part of is the most important part of their social campus experience. That's why Greek life is so successful. That's why campus ministry is so successful. And when you treat esports as a program of just competition, practice, and development,
Mhm.
that's an outlet. That's not a way of life. Not for at scale. Not when 55% of the campus body at a Division One school identifies as a gamer in some way, shape, or form. You're not going to touch that 55%. You're going to touch 5%, maybe. You're probably going to touch 0.05% or 0.5% at a Division One school. Um, and so what you really need to do is build that community authentically by, as Doc said about Dan, what are the people prioritizing, and do that. And
Mhm.
how do they enjoy their life? What would they find meaningful? Do that, and then do everything else, because the financials and everything else, the planning and all that matters too. And that's why we have a talent problem in Scholastic Esports. Um, but I will wrap up and say for the national level, Dan's completely right on narrative. But I'm not worried about that because the only thing we need to build community nationwide is just time.
Mm-hmm.
We are 2 generations away from critical mass, and all it takes is that the current generation of students to grow up, get in the professional workforce, and have kids and raise them. on the things that they were fans of. It's how baseball grew. It's how basketball grew. It's how rugby and all those other sports grow and sustain.
Cornhole grew.
But in all seriousness, all we need is time.
Mm.
All we need to do is ensure that our products get better, our opportunities become more authentic, accessibility remains open, and monetization remains enough to us to continue to what we're doing and grow.
First, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, so my name is Caitlin. I'm a part of Farmingdale State College's esports club. I am captain of the Valorant Green team. I am a second semester sophomore at Farmingdale State College, and I'm 19 years old.
Okay, do you like Farmingdale so far?
Yeah, it's really great. The program I'm in is very specialized, and it's not offered that often in the East Coast, so it's pretty nice. I enjoy it.
And what's your major?
My major is aerospace professional pilot degree.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Thank you.
So, is this your first time on an esports team?
No, so I've been a part of the Valorant team for 2 semesters, and this is my third semester, and it's my first time ever being a captain.
Okay, oh, that's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about what it's like being a captain?
So a lot of times I'm organizing the team, making sure everyone is properly set for upcoming games, um, getting scrims for our team, and kind of just making sure everyone is there, present, and possible, and able to play the games that we're gonna, you know, be participating in. We're participating in 2 leagues this semester, so it's kind of hectic.
Oh, gosh, yeah, definitely. I can see that. How is it different for you as a player versus as a captain? Do you feel a lot of responsibility?
I basically have the responsibility of choosing who, really plays, what type of characters everyone's playing, and what positions and roles we are all doing, as well as being there not only as a team member, but also being seen as in a leadership role and having that sort of respect there, and being able to delegate everyone's role in the team. So it's definitely a lot more different, and my voice is most definitely heard. So I like it. I like being a captain.
Yeah, that's really good. What games do you play, or what is your main game? I know you mentioned Valorant.
Right. So I play Valorant, but I started off with Counter-Strike, and I really always have been interested in FPSs. So that background has always been there. So my transfer onto Valorant was pretty easy.
That's cool. What have you done to improve yourself in game over time?
So one thing for my teams especially, I have open communication where we're able to really give our constructive criticism without taking offense. And me as a captain, especially it being my first semester, I find it really important that everyone is able to come to me and communicate like, "Hey, Kate, I don't know how I feel about doing this," or "I want my voice to be heard about this specific thing." And just basically taking into consideration everyone's voice and having that open line of communication is really helpful, and that's something I find really important.
Okay. Do you carry that strategy into your everyday life as well, would you say?
Yeah, communication is really important to me, especially in aviation with crew members. You're always trying to communicate properly and efficiently to get the assigned goal completed, and that works in video games as well as in aviation. So I feel like it transfers very well, and I put my 100% effort in everything I do. I put 100% in the team, the leagues that we're participating in, communicating with opposing teams that we might be going against. All those things, I take it really important and can transfer it very well into everyday life.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you think about CECC and just competing in general?
It's a lot of fun, and we're so grateful for the opportunity to participate. And this is something that every single member of our team has said. We've never had the opportunity to really compete in a fashion where it's not only fun, we're able to make friends, talk to other people from different schools. It's just an amazing opportunity and something we would love to participate in the future as well.
Yeah, we're really happy you feel that way. When your team is competing with other teams, are there any specific teams or schools that your team kind of looks out for?
I think we all have the mentality of it doesn't matter who the other team is. We're gonna put 100% effort, and we're going to maintain our mental, even if the other team is full of radiance. It's not something we're gonna keep in mind because we will be able to beat them. Fingers crossed.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really good mindset. As you probably know March is Women's History Month, and you being a woman in esports, how do you think that has an effect on esports? What does it mean to you to be a woman in esports and as a captain? Just could you talk about that for a little bit?
Coming into being a woman in aviation, which is already really a niche type of thing, especially women in video games, things like that. It's just we're kind of the minority, and keeping that in mind, a lot of times you have to represent yourself properly because you are representing such a small community. So I feel proud and honored to be a part of the women's in aviation as well as being a woman in esports, and it's a lot of fun, and just understanding that us girls are here too and we're as good as everyone else, and that we have the opportunity to be a leader in esports, and that we're equal to everyone. It's really important to keep that in mind.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ECAC here. Rainbow Six Siege Week 8 in a close matchup between Fisher College and Trine University. We nearly saw them go into overtime on our first map on Chalet. Now we're looking ahead to Kastej Dostoyevsky. I'm Corbeck, and alongside me is Suga. And Suga, do you think that the Falcons here will put the nail in the coffin and claim a win for Fisher, or do you think that Trine University has it in them to battle back on this cafe?
Well, common logic would tell me that each team is supposed to like win their map pick. So Fisher winning their own map pick of Chalet, I think it's only right that Trine should win out Cafe. But you don't always get what you want, and in that case, that could be true for Trine as we head here on to Cafe Dostoyevsky. I mean, the big issue right on Chalet was just mainly the attacks, and with Trine starting out on the attacks, hopefully they've talked a lot about what went wrong on Chalet and what they could do to better convert their attacks here on Cafe.
That's perfectly fair. And looking at the ban phase here, Nook and Flores getting taken out, I don't think there's anything particularly shocking in that setup. Those are pretty standard bans on this map. Obviously, leaves a couple of powerful attacking operators to play with, but nobody, I think, that's going to significantly tilt the balance one way or the other. Let's see what we get in terms of defensive bans. A zombie getting banned yet again, another very strong ban, and one that I think I'm happy to see here. Probably advantageous for both sides not to have the zombie kicking around. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say this is going to be a Valkyrie or a Mira. I just don't know which one is which, and the truth is revealed unto us. It is Valkyrie. So Mira will remain in play. Might actually be helpful at 1 or 2 points here, Sugar, but nothing too shocking in that ban phase whatsoever.
Yeah, it would have been it would have been more shocking had we gotten a Mira over Valkyrie, especially considering how big of a map Cafe is and how many nooks and crannies there are on this map to hide those black eye cameras in order to get so much intel on attacker positions and how to capitalize off of that intel, etc., etc. With the zombie, she makes a lot of sense, especially again on a map where it's very important as a defense to hold your power position. She makes that 10 times easier, plus she has that flexibility of being able to create her own angles behind her Kiba barriers. Flores and Nook, self-explanatory. We talked about it on Chalet with Flores, and then with Nook, she's almost always a common ban across all maps nowadays, especially with the introduction of EMP impacts.
Yes, very true. And that's an interesting choice in the defensive setup. I never quite know how I feel about walling off the bathroom like that into freezer. I always feel like you're putting yourself at a bit of a disadvantage, but making a couple very interesting choices here on the defense, actually. Opening up the freezer soft wall, providing a sightline for somebody playing bathroom as well. Obviously, with Pixel and that sightline there, it's a pretty good defense looking out to this room. The problem is, of course, that if you lose control of White Hallway, those operators are effectively stranded. So we'll see if Trine picks up on that potential weakness. Getting very aggressive there, Mini Muma. That's a dangerous way to go about putting some shots into that window there, Sugar. There's upside down repel for a reason. Oh, here it is.
And Yali just goes directly for a jump out. That was literally... Curious was right there the whole time. He was literally watching that.
I don't think
And
their sight line was good enough. I don't know. That's
it
just my
wasn't-
guess.
No, I mean, he had the sight line, but then he like moved somewhere else where he didn't have the sight line anymore. And so Squirrely dies, and that's a pretty careless kill to give away, considering like how common jump outs are in this map, but also considering the fact that Squirrely's on that Ayana. You're already lost to a site that depends on you having to util clear so much of the defender's utility that's in your way. Count the barbed wire that's already been destroyed. Pixel shield, you also have some angles to clear. Freezer, white hallway, back room with the shield up where you see the alibi at. And you only have one nade and some impacts to play with. I mean, that's cool, but you still want those the extra insurance with the nades from the Ayana.
Yeah, you also lose an information gathering tool. Let's be honest, the Gemini can be quite useful. Interesting, by the way, nobody from Fisher stepping up to actually defend the pinch right there, the pixel, as it were. Maple playing on the low ground here, looking up, Uzi in hand, Yali doubling back after their little run out experience. Only about a minute left on the clock here now for the side of Trine, and they haven't quite made the moves that they need to. This is a relatively familiar tale at this point in time. Beezer stepping up and challenging over towards Minibar, but nobody there at the moment. Beezer does get hit by something. That'll be enough to, I think, bring down the shield on Pixel, but it was a bait all along, not the actual defensive position they wanted to hold, and now it's Maple who will be doing the quick ducking and dodging. There's Cappy, gets taken down. Mini Mumot paid for that significantly, but the smoke is down, or the mute is down, I should say. Maple stepping out of cover, finishes off Mini Mumot. They gets finished off in turn. Here comes Kyrios Mars stepping forward into the breach. Beezer now leaning out of the corridor. It's Robe, though, who picks up the next kill, catches Kyrios Mars in a crossfire. Speaking of crossfire, Beezer gets one. Out comes the bailiff. Marquini now backed up into a corner on the Thatcher, knows that they have no real chance of escape, decides that they're going to try and go down fighting, checking every angle with tapping shots, but Beezer just drops in low and finishes him off. And the first Trine attack dies in ignominy up there on the third floor.
Yeah, Beezer, we saw that. Yeah, we most definitely did see that. That's what I was reacting to. I was like, oh, okay. And our observer is just a liar. Pants on fire. Look at that.
Happens to the best of us.
It happens, yeah, for sure. Nothing to be too ashamed about. It was just pretty funny to watch, especially on live, because he didn't even get that kill. His teammate just ended up getting the kill instead of him. So that was pretty awkward to watch, especially when you saw him like switch to the bailiff. But even then, Trine did clear out some utility. We saw that they lost the first pick. We saw them clear Pixel as well as Bathroom. Not really Bathroom, but they kind of like cleared out the shields and whatnot. They just couldn't really find a way to dislodge important players out of important positions. And when they had head-on gunfights, they couldn't really win them. So, you know, a struggle bus around there for Trine, seeing as they did lose that early pick, and they just couldn't find a way to bring it back in their favor. But now we get to see Kitchen. And out of all the sites here on Cafe, I find this one to be the most exciting to watch.
It is always interesting. I think it is one of the ones that requires, if you're going to come from it from the top down, it does require a significant amount of clear. Of course, if you're going to come at it horizontally, it doesn't require as much, but you do need to be pretty careful. And it looks like that horizontal take might actually be what's in store right here. So Fisher are going to have to adapt to that, because I just genuinely don't see that they're in a particularly good position to respond. In fact, they've only got one defender over on that side. So if Trine really lights the fire here, they might actually be able to make this work. You'll see slowly but surely on the edges of your screen, the Fisher defenders are closing back in. They've run a drone up in here as well. It's Cappy who steps up with the Kaid Electro Claw. We'll go ahead and destroy the Twitch drone and then deploy the Electro Claw. Will it get out there? Yes, it does. Oh, a bit of a missed moment there. That's unfortunate. The Kaid player, whether they got it destroyed or whether they just weren't able to get it out fast enough, cannot get the Electroclaw off in time, so the Thermite Exothermic will open up that wall.
Even if the Kaid Electroclaw would have like been on the verge of activating, and the exothermic was close to being zapped, you still had the EMP to ensure that the Kaid Claw would be temporarily disabled, and that wall would have been opened regardless. But even then, try and find that opening on the side, but they don't find the opening pick. Mini Muma losing out on that train's window dies. But at least potentially a refrag in favor of Trine. Nobody's watching Wedding. Wait, this could get dicey here for Trine as they find that refrag.
And Maple down early on. We'll see. I mean, that's I would say like a okay loss at this stage. A little bit of pre-fire here from Yali looking for a target. Marquini is that target. Marquini backing all the way up into Bakery. Now actually falling back even further across the opening of the breach, but it's Kyrios Mars who finds the next kill onto Cappy. And then one more steps up there as well. Kyrios Mars is traded back out right now, but it's all in the hands of Beezer and Rowe. Beezer throwing shots from a long range. Won't find anyone. Big O Killer gets a team kill. And here comes Robe. And by their own errors, Trine is put in a 1v2.
Yeah, Trine in a 1v2, or more specifically, Big O Killer in a 1v2. But he has, I mean, he's getting pinched, he's getting shot at. You name it. Dude is just battling his demons out here on Cafe as Fisher find her second round in a row. Again, able to find that early pick. They did have that big, wide open hole open inside of that kitchen site, allowed Trying to get the plant down because there wasn't really a lot of denial on the side of Fisher. You also have that red hallway being on lockdown from Trying, but Fisher just finding those refrags back and able to retake that site, retake the map control away from Trine as they struggle again, really mainly in those gunfights. When it matters most, they can't win out the crucial gunfights. They can't really hold the post plant. And Fisher get away with the second one in a row. A good round from Fisher and Trine back to the drawing board. It's only 2 rounds here on the Cafe. The Cafe is most definitely leans over to that defense. But we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I just that was a bit of a difficult round, and I mean, again, like I said at the time, it's entirely self-enforced errors. You know, and I hate to put Big O Kill on the spot, but the team kill is just kind of egregious, right? Like, it's not the sort of thing that should be happening. Now, if that team kill hadn't have gone through, I think that would have been a very different sort of round. I mean, they would have had the ability to block anybody from flanking around through small Bakery into a position where they could have been much of a threat. You could have challenged the long sight line into Kitchen. It just, you know, didn't work out that way. Good opening maneuver here from Mini Muma, though. I think Maple was trying to be cheeky with a run out. Instead, they got caught looking there. Might have been Mini Muma actually on the Jackal, who was the one who picked him up, whether or not he saw the feetsies or whether he just he saw Maple somehow. So unfortunate right there. Not a good start. I mean, admittedly, all the Volcans already down here, Sugar, so it's not the worst loss in the world, but still frustrating to go a body down within the first sort of 20 seconds of the round.
Yeah, so body down, and it's also a Nitro Cell off of the hands of Fishers. Nitro Cell is usually, well, you could say at times, most of the times, Nitro Cells aren't really that effective on this first floor site unless you have that Goyo directly playing inside a site using that Nitro Cell in order to probably find an isolated pick on the second floor as the attack is trying to move in. Speaking of, you see them get their picks all over this second floor. Fisher just isolating themselves a lot in these gunfights, not really playing off of each other on this second floor roam, and that much has been made clear as try and clear out the second floor with Robe coming on with the flank.
Well, the slow build-up here to finish off these remaining 2 members here of Fisher. I mean, it's not the easiest situation for the attackers. The fact that they still need to drone, I think, is making that clear. Robe actually managing to drop out and just pick up 1, but still 2 to 4 on the deck. Mini Muma taking some damage, still in the mix. Cappy now coming across, looking the wrong way is Squirrely, and they'll get brought down. The UMP 45 singing right there in the hands of the castle to try and keep the dream alive. But that's not going to help. Kyrios Mars with a great headshot onto Robe. That leaves everything on the back of Cappy here. And there'll be a little bit of a feet sniff there from the Jackal as well, but they won't even need it. It's the Sledge coming up the staircase who catches the Castle in between the two attackers and puts them down, and finally, Trine will get on the board.
Fisher just really isolated in most of their gunfights in that round, not really playing off of each other, especially in that early kill that we saw from the Goyo on the Rome. Then those last two players who were really separated far from each other, no trade value in their positionings as they were holding very aggressive shield positions, not shield positions, at least one of them was, especially in that cocktail area. The other was playing a little bit more conservatively on the top of those white stairs, but even then just gave up picks, isolated away from each other, try and recognize those weaknesses, took those gunfights and won them. And we see Trine get their first round here on the board on the attack, taking that second floor control, not really turning it into an execute, winning that round based off of frags. But even then, regardless, it's a nice end to the round from them. We see Fisher go up onto this third floor, again setting up the site, just as they did in the very first round here on Cafe.
Yeah, this top deck bomb site worked out for him last time. No reason to think that it won't deliver again. 2 shields in the mix here so they can play that sort of false pixel and the bathroom angle that they like. This time, Trine, I mean, they're bringing the Twitch along. They've got some tools in their tool chest for dealing with this, but last time they sort of got hung up. It's important to remember, too, that this was the round where we saw that very aggressive run out from Yali, which I think set a bad tone for the rest of the round here for Trine. So if they can avoid that situation again, which immediately just looking at the positioning of these players seems somewhat likely, they might do a little bit better here on this top deck. Already getting the Sledge in a position to open up the 2 hatches, and that will perhaps precipitate the initial moves here for trying to get in.
Yeah, they're all just set up on this roof, droning out Piano, droning out Cigar, droning out New Balk. Maple prepping himself up for a run out, but there is nobody from Trine on that east side area of the map. This seems more of a one-dimensional push here from Trine, and there's nothing wrong with that. You want to try and apply pressure at least on one area of the map, maybe have a late rotation to the other so that you can pull off a successful pinch on this site. But even then, regardless, some early damage done to the side of Fisher as Maple takes some hits. And Trine still, setting themselves up for success here on this attack as they open up this big wall on the red towards Piano. But there goes Dorn to go off. But again, at least they have some bit of control, but they get flanked in the process.
Good response from Mini Muma, though, even if they played very aggressively right there. Mini Muma finding another one. It was Beezer who stepped out, thought they might get a shot in the back. They did not. So the Fisher defenders, I mean, it's a one-dimensional attack, but they're not able to close down on it just yet. Mini Muma paving the way forward here with the Lifeline launcher. There's no cutoff in the white hallway, though, so the defender, in this case Maple, can take their shots and fall back with relative ease. Instead, they'll step up to the plate, find Mini Muma, give him the old Viking crew cut right there and shut him down. Curious Mars pops up over the top of the mini bar, tries for some shots of their own, but there's nobody in the general region. 40-ish seconds left on the clock and trying no closer than they need to be to the bomb site. Fisher still looking for more targets here, might be a little bamboozled.
Yeah, Maple's still playing off of his shield and a bathroom. Squirrely's holding this angle, make sure that Curious Mars can get this plant down without a pitch, without that swing on the bathroom doorway. But you also have to be careful of this Nitro, which may be ripped at any moment. The plant doesn't go through because, Fisher here that they got off of it, but Maple's taking down on that bathroom angle. There goes the Nitro from Cappy. Doesn't take out the planter here from Curious Mars, as he's able to get the plant down. The Overwatch from Squirrely is just chef's kiss as he finds one. Cappy's able to find his positioning behind the big bar, but he's being naded, he's being not really pinched, but he's being flanked here. And there goes Curious Mars to end out the round for Trine as they tie it up 2-2. An emphatic round into that round as Trine, even with just that one-dimensional push, and you saw Maple still getting some value out of his position in bathroom, they were still able to make that attack work.
Yeah, make it work, I think, is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Got to give him credit for a good plant and post-plant play as well. They really knew what needed to be done. Kyrios Mars playing kind of that bar to perfection, the split right there, splitting the attention of Cappy. There was really no chance for the Mute to make a big play right there with the situation they were faced with. So well played by Trine on the tail end. And again, these two teams still looking relatively even right here. A lot of back and forth on this cafe, much like there was on Shallon. But we see now the defensive setup. They're going to return to the third floor, and they're going to stick with basically what they had. I mean, it looked good until it didn't, Sugar. And I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing if they're going to run it again. But I think in general, it's a good thing.
I don't mind it. I mean, there wasn't really a lot of the things. It was just that last round came down to some pretty important gunfights, which we talked about gunfights being a big factor in this matchup, rather than it just being about like utility and like structured play styles or anything like that. It's been mainly about the gunfights, and these important gunfights weren't really won in that last round from Fisher. Especially when you think about Maple's positioning there in bathroom, just being very key, but then he just lost his gunfight. And also Cappy not really being in a good position to take any gunfights just because of how well Trine played that post plant. So there's nothing wrong with him going to the same site, trying to set up the same setup yet again. But if Trine go for this one-dimensional push yet again, Fisher could capitalize off of that maybe. Because they almost did last round.
They could. I'm glad that Squirrely getting a little bit of value out of those Twitch drones. The util on the side of Fisher hasn't been a huge decisive factor here. Not through lack of trying. Speaking of, there's an EMP grenade going in right there. Trine showing a bit of a different sort of composition, a bit of a different sort of attack idea, at least temporarily. They had Squirrely on the coverage right there towards Pixel. Now, though, looking a little bit more one-dimensional again. Yali here on the second floor. And I think I saw out of the corner of my eye one of the members of Trine rotating around in that area, so something that they're going to have to keep a weather eye out for. Double claymores being set up there on the red stairs to protect the backside of this push. Kyrios Mars now stepping up, looking down through that skylight, but nobody there to take note of. About a minute or so left in the round, and neither side really in an excellent position.
I like the double claymore setup because the roams for Fisher have found some good impact kills, but there goes Big O Killer to find the first. Muma does fall after a quick trade there from Maple on that first floor. And I mean, that's your Sophia off of the board. You still have 2 nades as well as the sledgehammer. You don't really use the sledgehammer in these situations to get rid of util, but I just thought I'd put it out there. It'd be kind of silly, especially 35 seconds left in the board, and with Trine having to set themselves up for the execute, removing that heaven position from Fisher. Smoke's going out. They're gonna go for a plant soon here, Corbett.
They have to go for a plant here soon. They've got the numbers advantage. What is that? Oh! Maple, what are you looking at, my man? Caught looking absolutely. And Trine just surges in here, and Fisher, I mean, literally, the story of Maple could be applied to the entire team. Caught off guard and just shredded right there.
Oh my god, Maple, please. Just shoot back!
I don't understand. I don't understand at all.
I don't either. You could tell, he just kind of like he saw like one play and he's like, alright. Then the second player came up and he's like, wait a minute. And then kind of like, you could tell he kind of like froze up at that second. A little bit of panic started to set in. And that's probably why he didn't want to shoot at that very moment, because he was trying to pick, he was between the two, he was trying to pick a better target. But Trine found him out first because they knew he was in that pillar's position, because he literally got a kill on that first floor. It's either he flanks up the stairs, gets caught by the claymores, or he's still on that bottom floor, or he's in sight somewhere in the cocktail area. Trine, just with the reflexes, snapped right on him, and Maple was too late to capitalize on that. He had a good opportunity to deny that plant and cause chaos on that first floor. Even if he doesn't get a kill, even if he downs somebody, that's still really good time wasting there from Maple, because Trine have to pick the diffuser up. They have to pick up the fallen teammate if they still want to have a chance to win that round. But because he didn't shoot back, he didn't find anything. So Fisher now at a deficit come the last round of the half.
Well, this is a big round for Fisher here. They don't want to start their attack off with, down 2-4. That's not what you want to see on a cafe. Last time they were down here on the kitchen, it did go their way. Sugar, I mean, they won it out. Part of that was because of Trine, but they still played it relatively well. So that's what they have to be aware of that time. Yali popping up there, trying to find a kill, but not going to find one that easily. The electric clock goes out, and again, the timing just slightly off there by everybody, but it works out in favor of Trine. So at this point in time, I'm not really sure what the inherent value of the Kaid necessarily is. Fortunately, Maple steps up to the plate and finds Squirrely, so they'll take that Twitch down early in the round. Yali trying to set up a murder hole of their own as Maple watches again from the top floor, just waiting for somebody to walk into that breach.
It's the second time in a row where we've seen Fisher run this kitchen site and that wall get opened up so easily. And I feel like not only does the Kaid need to get played, I don't think the Kaid pick is the issue. I think them not running any other denial besides the Kaid is a big issue, because Kaid by himself, he's only really good at denying catches, not really denying a whole wall. Unless you have somebody paired in with them, like a Mute, for example. Yali on the Frost here, missing a couple of shots. But at the moment, I mean, even despite trying getting that main wall open from Bakery, they can't find any refrags, and there goes Yali to end out the round there from Fisher.
Exactly what Fisher needed, a very solid round to end their defensive side. They'll keep it at a 3-3. I don't think they're probably super pleased with it here, Sugar, but I think it's the best they could ask for, right, in the situation that they were in. Now we get a chance to see how Trine does on the defense. Now, when we were looking over on the last map on Chalet, Trine really came alive on the defense. They looked like a much more coherent team when they picked up that defensive side. Fisher weathered the storm that time. I don't know if they're necessarily going to weather it here on Cafe, where across the board, I would say they've looked a little unsteadier than they did over on Chalet.
I do want to ask a question about that last round, because and it was mainly about the Kaid pick and really not running any other denial alongside that from Fisher's side of things. Whereas you see the Mute and the Bendy come out here from Trine. And that's not the first time that Fisher has ran that site neither. And that's not the first time we've seen that lineup from Trine on that same site. Because they ran it in the earlier round where Fisher ran the kitchen site. And they ran the same lineup. They still try the Kaid trick with no other extra denial to ensure that they can properly get the Kaid trick off. A Mute would have most definitely thrown him off of that wall in the first place, but instead they didn't really pick it. So that kind of told me that there wasn't really any adjustment on the lineup there from Fisher, or that maybe the Bakery wall isn't that big of a priority for them. But regardless, we get into this first round here on this basement or in this kitchen attack, and Fisher are already inside of the map.
Oh, Beezer absolutely annihilates Mini Mooba as they step into the coat room. Curious Mars, though, waiting to return the favor, won't win the gunfight. Maple picks him up behind Whiskey, and the pathway is clear here for the moment, leading to the bomb site. Marquini holding in Freezer just clips Yali, but won't find the kill that they need. And this is looking increasingly ugly here. Round number 7 for Trine, their first defensive effort. And they are already hitting the bricks and having to fall back here in lieu of Fisher's gunplay.
It's a very fast entry from Fisher, and it completely took Trine off guard, especially on this first floor. You wouldn't expect the other team to be inside of the map this early on, and Trine surely didn't expect it because they lost those early gunfights. You saw a couple of players just kind of like running all willy-nilly across the map, not really aware of Fisher's surroundings, and that's not necessarily on them. Fisher just timed that rush to a T and completely took Trine off guard. But Beezer is taken off the board here as Trine make it a 3v4.
4-3, waiting now for the right opportunity. Trine still got roamers active. That means Fisher has to beware. They've got to be careful. A couple of shots there by Maple. They're speculative. They find nothing. It's Marquini who strikes next. Yali is down. Now a 3v3. It's all going bad. Squirrely dropped down red stairs and picked up some kills. Now it's a 3v2. Robe here fighting their way out of the coat room. They won't find anything. Cappy cut to pieces by Big O Killa, and it's dreams to memes here for Fisher in round number 7. They had all the advantages, and now they are all gone. Robe, the sole player left on the sledge, challenging down towards the kitchen. A couple of shots fired in, won't find anyone. Robe checking behind them really quick, spins back over to the duel, preps the frag grenade and throws it out. Lucky they didn't get rushed down on right there. The frag won't go far enough, but Robe picks up the kill. That's Big O Killer who drops. Robe now stepping out into the red corridor, looks up, won't find anything. Now heading back over to the bomb site. It was just the moment that Squirrely was waiting for. Steps out of cover and blasts the sledge down.
Fisher with the early round advantages, the early picks, the early pace, they set the tone. They got the map control all over Bar, all over Christmas, all over Kochek. They had everything working in their favor, but there's just seemed to be some sort of disconnect between everybody and the way that they were just trying to set up their way inside of the site. Seems like there were some players who had a different idea of how they wanted to execute versus how the rest of Fisher maybe wanted to execute. And they just gave up picks really easily. Even despite all of that control, there was no vertical challenges there from Trine. All of them were set up on that first floor. Nobody really attempting to go for a plant in dining. Instead, they just are not dining in a kitchen by the freezer behind that half wall in the default area, or even behind the bomb chastity, as that's where most of the pressure, that's where most of the map control was for Fisher. Again, they just got caught out a lot when they were getting picked apart there from Trine on that retake. So good early start there from Fisher, but also good comeback from Trine to reclaim that round in their favor.
Yeah, it's honestly very unfortunate. I think I expected a little bit more from Fisher right there, and they just let themselves be cut to pieces. And Trine, I mean, they've got to be riding high on the momentum of that. That's the kind of thing that they want to see on their defensive half, and the kind of thing that might actually capitalize them to finishing this off in fine style. Squirrely throwing a couple of rounds out through the minibar window. Doesn't actually find anyone, but will put the alibi down there regardless to perhaps give some intel. And that will sort of set the stage for the rest of this attack here. Obviously, Fisher going to be unhappy about that last round and going to need to play this, I think, a lot more carefully in order to secure themselves a good run in the future. Maple stepping in, but only when they've confirmed that other members of the team have entered the building.
What type of intel? It doesn't seem like he had any definite intel on where that on that position where the nade had landed, or else he would have probably gotten an easy kill had his teammates droned out the site in the first place and then pinged out that smoke early on to help him get that nade off in Fisher's favor and take out the smoke early, which is an important op in slowing down these attackers and slowing down their pushes. But instead, they just gotta rush in and blindly throw nades all willy-nilly across this first floor. And there's already 2 sets of nades gone when they had a good idea of how to attempt to take the first floor control. But they're just going to find a way to make those nades work in their favor. They're using the buck in order to reposition a lot of these defenders. And as they do find the first kill, Trine finds one back from Kyrios Mars and Diffuser.
Reloading, cover me.
I mean, Maple, though, who picks up another one. Kyrios Mars, the one that was caught looking. Cappy covering the cross angle, and the intelligence side of this from Trine is really lacking. They just have no idea where these attackers are. Mini Mumon now, the one with all the pressure on their shoulders, but I just don't know if the Oryx is going to be able to pull this one back together. A couple of shots there from the SMG as the members of Fisher begin to make their way forward. Nomad still covering the cutoff here, looking in through that cocktail window. Mini Mumon rotating back back over towards the bomb site as Cappy finally gets off to rappel. Minimuma holds up here, checking down over towards Pixel, waiting to see if anybody steps into the sight line, and sure enough, there's a moment there where they nearly lost it, looks away at the wrong moment. It's Maple firing out from the hole that Fisher made to go ahead and secure the kill.
Yeah. Cafe is turning out to be a lot closer than I initially thought it was. Fisher had a very good start early on, able to get the first 2 rounds, and then now we're at as the rounds have gone back and forth, we're stuck at a 4-4 as Fisher. Again, I really like the way they took charge on that first floor, almost getting caught out early, but able to get back on their feet, find that first kill, and even despite wasting 2 nades early, they make good use of the buck in dislodging a lot of those defenders and forcing them out of position so that Fisher could capitalize on it. Jesus. Great pronunciation there. But Library is going to be the site choice here from Trine, as one of these teams have the potential to put forward. Could it be Fisher to put themselves on a 5 and put themselves one round away from being on match point so that they can claim the whole series? Or is it going to be trying to potentially put us into a map 3?
I mean, I think that's definitely Trine's ideal. This is reminding me a lot of what happened on Chalet, though, where we did see Trine kind of battle back in, and then the wheels came off towards the end. Regardless, these two teams have been very close to one another, all things considered. I think this is much more of a sort of battle to the knife than I expected from these two. Bees are going to go ahead and step up into, I would say, the more dangerous assault part of this map. We've already seen one run-out kill here today. I don't think we're going to see another one, but you just never know. Robe there, as you can see from that very cautious approach. Yali's going to make the same checks, actually. Some shots now coming in through the mini bar window, and there'll be a defender there waiting for it, but nobody will actually get the kill onto Beezer. That was Mini Muma, who had prepped extensively on that vigil for that exact swing. Unfortunately, couldn't really turn it around the way that they wanted to. Now they're going to send a drone in there and do a quick trick, but I don't actually think they know that Mini Muma is there. That should have picked Mini Muma up, and it'll force the retreat back over towards Trains to reset the board here just a little bit. And that, I think, will allow Fisher to at least secure the first building here on the top floor.
Even though
I should say.
Yeah, even though it took Fisher a minute to claim this area of the map, that's still them being good on time to actually take this map control and have something to work off of when it comes to fully taking that cocktail bar area. At the moment, though, Mini Muma has completely backed off of top 4, giving Piano, giving Cigar bathroom control, whatever you name it, on this west side area of the map. And it leaves Trine, these last 2 players, on this top 4, specifically in this White Stairs hallway, and also in Cocktail. It leaves them a little bit more vulnerable. They're going to have to either play to the death, play for their positions, and maybe find a pick before just dying, or they're gonna have to completely back off this top floor. It's a big decision. It's hard for the Trine defenders.
Beezer dumping some lifeline charges in. Kyrios Mars peeling out there of Cocktail. Still not in a serious position of threat. Never mind. Kyrios Mars steps back into Cocktail. It is gunned down. Simultaneous detonation right there of charges will allow some holes to be opened in the wall, but a little too late. Honestly, they don't even need them anymore. Beezer here playing, looking down into the main hallway, but doesn't find anything. Mini Muma rotating back around. Squirrely Mini Muma and Big O Killer, the final defenders, remain as Fisher goes to work here to try and set up some verticality from which they can play down to the second floor. Only 25 seconds left, though, so if the plant is going to come, it's going to have to come soon. A couple of shots coming out there from the Capital. Yali just creating a position where they can get up behind the small bookshelf and slam the plant down. Squirrely, meanwhile, just takes a face-to-face gunfight with Beezer and wins it out. Yali goes prone, looks the other direction. Yali won't win it. And now a 2v3, and the diffuser is incredibly vulnerable here. Cappy misses their initial shots. Robe, the only one with a real decent coverage. Cappy forced back yet again, just has to hit the bricks. And Robe here holding above waiting to hear the telltale sign of the diffuser, but Squirrely's been sent to do the dirty work of clearing them out, and does! Squirrely pops both of them, and that opens up the diffuser and puts Trine around ahead.
Big Suke from Squirrely at the end there, putting himself on 10 kills and 5 deaths. I mean, his retake there from Cigar was absolutely huge in ensuring that Trine had an easier time encountering that diffuser and defusing it in the first place. Though, for Fisher, they were very late in a lot of that setup for that post plant. They eventually got that plant down. There was a lapse of concentration as a Zofia, as he had a lot of angles to watch, couldn't really catch the player on the top of those brown stairs early enough, as they were kind of like just looking at each other briefly. That was very confusing to watch. But even then, Fisher, even though it took them a while to kind of set up the way that they wanted to attack, especially on that second floor, they got those vertical angles to work. They got that plant down in the first place, and they almost did win it. But Squirrely, I mean, how do you stop someone from hitting shots like that? How do you do it? I don't know.
I don't know either, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know that there is a way, right? I mean, I guess try and neutralize them in a different perspective. I feel like Fisher could do okay on this bomb site. I know that last time they were here, it was a little bit disastrous, but I mean, we've seen their initial kind of assault here, and it looked good, right? The entire time it looked good. So I think that they can do it. They just have to be careful they don't get caught out quite the same way again. Mini Muma, by the way, interesting that they pick up the Bandit here. They've been using the Kai, kind of the minimal success on both sides of the ball, so a Bandit is a little bit of a change. And I mean, everything resting on the shoulder of Fisher right now. If they don't want to go to an overtime map, that's on them. There's nobody else who's going to determine their fate. I don't think Trine is good enough to 100% sort of like assert their will on this map and just make it a guaranteed victory. So it's really going to be Fisher's kind of need to recover this. Curios Mars here playing off that shield could be a serious nuisance if they're not careful. And these castle barricades getting systematically destroyed one by one. And the player in Christmas needs to be a bit careful because they're going to have enemies coming up behind them, whether they like it or not. Squirrely actually gets taken down. In return, though, Mini Muma fires directly across. Squirrely was hiding behind Whiskey right there, and that's where that kill happened.
Yeah, bees are being taken off early again. Fisher can't, like, on this site in particular, you know, they got into a good early round start on the same site on that earlier round, but they can't really do the same here. They wanted to try and go for the same push, but try and have readjusted to that, readjusted their positions, and it found them 2 early picks onto arguably some of your more important fraggers, some of your more important operators in terms of like util clear and destruction, considering you still have shield, you still have 1 shield to clear, you still have some ADSs that you want to get rid of, some castle barricades that you need to remove, and the best way to do that is not only by the sledgehammer, but also to ensure that you don't die when trying to go for that swing with the hammer, is by the nades. Yali gets caught out on the main doorway of Bakery, and this is just going from bad to worse here from Fisher, as they can't make the same push that almost worked for them on this same site. They can't make it work this round.
No, they genuinely can't. And I mean, Mini Muma has this bakery position locked down pretty good. I love that wide castle extension, by the way. You don't see it a ton, and I always am happy to watch it in the wild. Cappy here, the one who's going to be challenging that, but it's Robe who actually picks up the next kill, finds Curios Mars and brings him down. A couple of shots there from the assault rifle, not finding their next victim, though. Cappy just watching. Mini Muma steps out of cover and brings Cappy down. And now a 1v4 here, and Robe just too many angles, too many guns, nothing the sledge can do.
Yeah. Fisher wanting to try and go for that same thing that they did on the earlier round on that same site, but trying, again, like I mentioned, readjusted to that, and they found those early picks in positions in which, if that were the earlier round yet again, they would have been caught out, but that time they weren't, because they knew what to expect from Fisher. So for Fisher to go and try for that same push, it's not a bad idea, because Trine could do the same exact setup. I've seen teams do it before. If a team caught them off guard in an earlier round, they don't really readjust that, but Trine did, and Fisher trying to bank off of that. But instead, it just seemed like they didn't really have enough intel on how Trine were set up to counter them in the first place, and they just kind of went for broke, and it didn't work. So we get to see third floor. Yet again, this time though, the stakes are a lot different because Trine is on that match point. And for both of these teams, when it comes to Cocktail, it's been 50-50 in terms of win rate. I think for like the attack and defense for both teams. Actually, no.
Indeed.
No.
I mean,
I lied. Trine has won this site more. Especially on the attack. They won it twice. They've lost it once in the defense. And Fisher have won it once in the defense.
Trine, I mean, I think Trine is in a pretty good position here to push this one to an overtime. Yeah. I don't see Fisher playing with the same vim and vigor on attack that they show on defense, and I mean that's a pretty classic scenario, right, in the world of Siege. But it's definitely an issue for them. So if they can recover it, maybe they can push this to overtime, but I have a feeling we're going to be watching Trine push us to the great big overtime of map 3 as opposed to the mini overtime here on Cafe.
Yeah. As a reminder to those who have just joined us here on Esports and the Esports U main channel, map 3 is Oregon. So, pretty fun map to go to. Don't you agree, Corbett?
Don't let the community at large hear you say that. You'll be in trouble. It's boring.
Oh, no,
haven't you heard? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were serious.
No.
Everybody hates that map. Everybody hates Squirrely, too. Squirrely just blasts Beezer right there, straight in the face. The CX Storm rips its intended target apart, and that'll be that. Squirrely dropping back into cover, and that was not, I think, how Fisher saw this going, but this frag grenade, now that could be something good. No! Squirrely, with all the cover in that room, somehow survives. They also survive a blast of gunfire. They turn it around and they get the kill. So like a deadly Houdini, Squirrely escapes from a near certain trap, and the odds of Fisher losing Cafe and going over increase by the moment because Squirrely gets the triple, finds Yali. Anybody else want to feed themselves to Squirrely's gun? Okay, Robe, I see that. Squirrely gets excited, actually pops out the side there looking for that ace. Squirrely running around now, actually probably in danger of getting shot in the back if they're not careful. Cappy, the only one left alive. And Cappy's only goal here, I think, in this 1v5 is to prevent Squirrely from getting the joy of an ace.
Woo! Fisher. All of that just fell apart to one man Squirrely, who's 14-5. Last map, the MVP was indeed it was Maple 17 and or 18 and 7, or maybe even more than that. As Squirrely, his attempts at the end there from the 9, Squirrely to ace is failed, as Squirrely does find that ace here on Cafe. But even then, regardless of that, it's again, it's like Kitchen. They go for that same push that worked very well for them early on, or in the early rounds. That last round there on Kitchen, they did the same thing here on Cocktail, and they just get thrown around and shredded apart by Squirrely. Insane round from him, and try and get us to that map 3.
Yeah, they do. And I'll be honest with you, I did not see it going this way when we got started out the gate, but it has map 3 on the line. Trine and Fisher, they're neck and neck right here on the ECAC. Don't go anywhere. Watch the thrilling conclusion of this series after this break.
Did everyone take you seriously being a girl? Was that respect there, or did you struggle with that?
So I would say initially, when I first got on the team, I was put onto a support role, and everyone knows that women normally play healer when it comes to going into any game. And now I'm playing more of a controller based or sentinel, which is very crucial for holding down sites. So by playing that now and then having those semesters in my backpack of experience, everyone has treated me with respect, and I I would hope it stays that way. And either way, I demand respect because I reciprocate that respect to everyone else. So it's definitely difficult, especially for girls starting out. That toxicity is there, especially even now whenever I play a game without my team there. That toxicity is there just for being a girl. But as long as you don't have that mindset of them affecting you because you're better than them anyway, it's fine.
Definitely. Well, that's good. I'm happy that you're getting respect that you deserve, and that's awesome. And thank you so much again for your time, and I really appreciate it.
No problem. I just wanted to add that our esports club as well, started only with 13 students and 2 teams in 2019, and now we're up to 19 different teams and over 350 students in to date in 2021. Like, that progress is there, and even if you have such a small, like, if you think that things are so small, realize that a community is there for you, especially being a female in esports. That community is there for you.
Definitely. That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I really appreciate it again and your time. Just thank you overall. That's awesome. Keep
No
doing what
problem.
you're doing.
Thank you
Thank
for the opportunity.
Of course. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Hey guys, KTAD here, and just like that, another season of ECAC Esports regular season play has come to a close. Over the last 8 weeks, we saw a crazy amount of hype competition from some of the best collegiate esports has to offer, and as usual, you guys have me one last time to break it all down and to show you guys what we thought were some of the top plays this week. And honestly, guys, I don't have much more to say. Just check it out because I think we've got some really incredible clips here. Let's take a look. In our opening clip, it's Professor Dementium with a straight boot off the stage to kick things off for Bloomfield.
Got himself one. Kicked back off stage though. But the air dodge is going to be that Bowser. He'll do it again, and he'll also bring himself that down smash so he gets quickly back before that Falcon's able to take any sort of advantage. But well, you're gone. The spikes come through. It's a clean kick to wrap things up, and well, he's got one. He's got one stock for his troubles.
Up next, the duel of Donkers and Robeast have some things to say with this beautiful 1-2 combo to close the door on Albany.
Hit the intersection and go straight up in the air for Robeast, who's going to work Central Missouri into the offense. Flip reset's a good one. The pass down to Donkers, and he finds the net. A 3-goal deficit in Game 3.
I gotta say, Curtis, it seems like after these two teams came out of Game 2, right? Again.
In our next play, who needs to be able to see your enemy when you can just take a educated guess?
Great, 1-for-1 over towards Catwalk. There's still more where that came from. Myranium is next up, and he will take a couple too many fights. Solsta as well is going to be able to take a couple of fights, winning them both. It's a 1v3, and Novacorium won't be able to do anything. Johnson, Wales.
At number 5, it's Saltonics with this huge flank onto Cole College to secure Temple of Anubis for his team.
Right now, it's got to be just destroying it straight up. Maybe with the Coalescence, maybe the Supercharger, but that Retire could just immediately rip through.
Here's that Riptire. It does move Joker, but it could have been a catastrophic play. Now Nightbolt is pulled all the way off the point, and that's an easy one. Tonic's coming in with the triple off of that crucial Rocket Barrage, and that is all of them off the point.
Now it's time to Joker just to get the touch onto the point. Tracer.
Coming back to the Bloomfield versus Keen matchup, it was a clutch finish from Zenipu as he finishes off Brandon without dropping a single stock.
No, one more lease on life. Lease on life indeed for Brandon. Looking to hold the ledge, but a recovery from Zenipu. He says second time's the charm. He'll send him to the moon, and once again, Zenipu will not drop a stock.
Blast packing our way into the number 2 spot, though. It's a 4K from Butter to cement the lead for Providence College.
Back roads around the high ground to try and avoid that
Oh!
as much as possible.
Oh my absolute days! Here was me looking for that transcendence to counteract the grab, and no, it was just a big fat go button. In comes the pulse bomb. Down goes SUNY Poly Wildcats.
Phil, I can't remember the last time I've seen...
Blast packing our way into the number 2 spot, though. It's a 4K from Butter to cement the lead for Providence College.
Not much more. That tab can go a long way in the latter half, right? Now Retna bringing out that stimmy, trying to get the opportunity to move the team in forward. Okay, there's that showstopper I was thinking about. It looks like D-Nuns is going to have that show stopped. Sal, not particularly far behind, a 4v2. But really starting to wake up here on the race.
Yeah, wow, so impressive. And 4K there, just going straight through the entire team like a bulldozer. Will not stop until all are taken down.
And in our top play from the last week of regular season play, it is a nail-biter last-second goal that will keep you guessing until the very end.
Their own open, a little bit of high pass. You angle it in, but it's just off the top of the goalpost.
Top of the goalpost coming in deep. Matrix able to find something here. The demolition comes through. 7 seconds left for a true game win, but in overtime feeling incredibly likely. But tied out of a wide open goal. No! Orbital, the waffle iron has been flipped, and Farmingdale finds themselves up 4-3. 2 seconds left on the clock. The only hope for Louisville to win this out is with a kickoff goal. They cannot make a single mistake, or they will.
And with that, I mean, what more do you guys want me to say? It was a crazy week to wrap things up, but it's really just been a crazy season overall with the addition of Division A and what I personally think is some of the most competitive action here in collegiate esports. I mean, what a season, and there's only much more to come. With the playoffs starting on April 4th, you guys can expect to see a lot more action that will continue all throughout the month, and that will wrap up on the week of April 25th. Now, if you guys want to stay up to date on all of that,
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to this close matchup here. ECAC Week 6, Rainbow Six Siege, Trine versus Fisher, and we're going to map number 3. It'll be Oregon here on the deck, and these two have been back and forth on all these maps, only the narrowest of margins between them on most rounds. I'm Corbeck, alongside me is Suga. Trine starting on the defense here, Suga, and I think that might be the decisive factor on this map.
I kind of agree with you there. For the last 2 maps, at least, Fisher has started out on the defense, and I mean, we just saw it wasn't really that influential into how the cafe played out, or well, not really in their favor. Mainly, it played out in Trine's favor as they did take map number 2. Whereas on the defense, they were very, very dominant on Chalet. And it kind of fell apart a little bit when they got into the attack, but then they just regained their composure and actually started attacking very properly. Now we get onto Oregon, starting off with the ban phase, and of course, it's the trifecta of bans here. Flores, Nook, and Valkyrie, straight off the bat.
Yeah, that is genuinely the trifecta. Make it the quadruple here. The 4 most common bans, I would say, at this point in time. Maybe slip Flores out, but on Oregon, at least, he's very useful, so you want to get him out of there. Mira as well. That'll obviously leave Kaid. It leaves Thatcher, so I'm not surprised to see Kaid making an appearance. We'll be a little bit interested to see whether Fisher wants to play the Thatcher game. Instead, they'll bring along Cappy on a Lion, I guess favoring the 2 EMP impacts over the EMPs that Thatcher brings. Other than that, a pretty standard set of operators for both both sides here. Nothing that I would say is wildly out of the blue. I appreciate, by the way, Trine bringing the double projectile denial, the double whammy of Jaeger and Wamai here to protect themselves. Always a bit of an interesting combo for them to have in the pocket.
Last time I saw an Oregon play, I didn't see a lot of this, and this was like during like SCS. I remember one team was playing like Oregon defense, and they weren't necessarily running default setup. So to see Trine do that, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. They're doing like the default setup towards trophy. They have the smoke. They have the default shield and attic as well. You can tell right off the bat that they're just looking to waste time on the attacking push coming on at least the game side of things.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean in terms of the setup, and that's something that, you know, you want to delay, right? And one of these things that both these teams have, I think, functionally struggled with through all the maps here tonight has been pacing and timing. So I think if you can kind of start leaning into that a little bit more on the side of the defense, you're doing yourself a favor. I mean, this is already a very heavily defender-sided map, probably one of, if not the most defender-sided map currently sitting in the map pool. So Trine, they've got all the cards they need here to put up a good early lead on Fisher. That said, I mean, we've seen defender-sided maps here tonight as well on Cafe, and the early defenders didn't have a huge advantage. Mini Muma, though, starting it off in fine style, takes Beezer out of the equation very early on in this advanced trophy hole.
I believe Beezer was playing inside of Armory, so that removes the potential of Mini Muma being properly pitched out of this trophy position because he has so much utility to play behind. He has the Jaeger ADSs. He has his own rechargeable Mindus. He's sitting on 2 at the moment. A third is about to be recharged here at any point in time. So he really has no reason to push off of that position unless this attic push comes from Fisher, and it comes very soon. As they get that breach open on the attic wall, there goes Maple to finally find that refrag, removing a very important player and operator off the board here for Trine. But in doing so, Trine respond with another refrag of their own, putting themselves back in the lead.
Well, a couple of shots there from Maple, all needed to remove the ADS, and Fisher has done a good job of penetrating, I guess, the first layer of the defensive onion of Trine here, but they've got a long way to go, I think, before they can count themselves as having scored a victory. They also need to watch their backs. It's Cappy who's responsible for making sure Squirrely doesn't creep up behind him and put a couple of rounds through the dome. Maple now steps up, is going to run the Gemini in there, and I think get the best look they possibly can of the defenses, and you'll see 2 stacked up over in the corner by the closet wall. Robe quick checking right there. A bit of an ugly quick check as the first smoke is used. 30 seconds left on the clock, and now things probably going to get a little bit desperate here for the side of Fisher. They just start walking to gun sites. What are they doing? That is a disastrous attack. Kyrios Mars just firing across those sight lines, throws out the C4 there as well. Are they just not paying attention to where these shots are coming from?
There's a curious push at the end there from Fisher, though. When you see the placement of the smoke grenades, they were kind of all funneled inside of attic, but that's because Fisher chose to funnel themselves inside of attic. There was no other push coming in from the trophy side of things because that smoke was mainly placed at the attic doorway leading right in front of games. So it's not like somebody couldn't have rotated to trophy to try and put more pressure on a Kaid playing behind the couch in games, but instead, it's kind of like they forced themselves in a choke point. And that's exactly what they did. They choked until they passed away. And trying to get the first defense here on Oregon, moving themselves to that basement site. Pretty weird there, though. I mean, you saw, like, the way that Fisher set up. Yes, they did eventually clear that utility. Yes, they did eventually clear those choke points trophy. They end up pulling off the attic push. They denied the flank from coming through because Squirrely gave away his position really, really early. And he was being looked at and shot at the same time from Fisher. But even in despite that, they took over a minute to do that. And you still have smoke grenades and everything on the board. That's been the name of the
Indeed.
game for the attack. The whole time
It really
slow.
has, yeah. I mean, they're going to try and go fast here into Blue Bunker. I don't know if that's going to necessarily work. I don't actually think Trine anticipates this. I mean, they have the standard defensive setup right here. Big O'Killa playing as well. Blitz, that's what he's made for. He got it in his name, and they'll just rush in point blank. Marchini fires over the top of the Blitz's head. It ends in moments. Mabel picking up the final kill right there. Yali is into the front door. Yali with the shield. Cappy getting some big kills as well. And this Blitz, living up to the name, has completely worked out here in favor of the attackers. They'll get one more in. The Nitro Cell finally shuts Yali down, but it's a 3v1. Maple going in for the plant here. The reload forced out of Kyrios. Cappy now checking down. The Lion Pink coming out. Robe has a good angle on this as well. They're pretty much prepared to deal with any sort of counterattack coming from the side of Kyrios Mars. Probably one of the most exciting rounds we've had here all night, honestly, from the speed that was executed. Kyrios Mars misses the shots, and Maple picks up the kill. And fine style, Fisher puts themselves on the board.
Fisher taking Trine completely off guard with that rush. It all started off with that rush straight into that elbow position. Plus, you saw some players as well from Fisher split off towards Harry Potter in order to deny that player towards that Harry Potter E-box section from having any sort of impact on that rush, as well as his teammate inside of elbow was being pinched, or not pinched out, but being pushed to all oblivion, being terrorized by the Blitz, being terrorized by everything. Did well to get that first initial pick, but didn't really have enough time to set themselves up to throw a smoke grenade in order to further delay that push from going through because of how fast Fisher were moving in the first place. So a good rush there from Fisher to be able to pull it off while also ensuring that they had a very comfortable end to that round as well.
Couldn't agree more. They're not going to be able to do that again, though. I think we should clarify. That's a one and done sort of scenario there for Fisher. But I mean, hey, it worked. Sometimes those go disastrously, but I think it actually illustrated a bit of an issue that both teams have been having, particularly on the defense, but also on the attack as well, which is a real lack of a cohesive intel game. They just genuinely don't seem to know where their opponents really are at any given moment, and that leaves a lot of leeway there for Fisher to just kind of run a crash strat like that. This time, though, I feel like a lot more caution in the offing, a much more standard defensive setup, no blitz here, so they'll take their sweet time about it and go about it carefully. They've got 4 frag grenades here as well, so that's of note. Mini Muma, by the way, here with the shotgun, waiting. Ooh, that could be dangerous. I think they might have missed it. Remember what I said about intel? They just don't know. And it'll work for Mini Muma. They'll secure a kill onto Beezer and then run back into the freezer.
They have control over this first floor area of the map, but what they didn't really do was it seemed like they droned out security, but didn't drone out the top of freezer stairs, as Maple ends up running right into the middle of that shotgun. So even though Fisher have security control, they have that first floor control, and they have the freezer hatch open, they're not using any of that to their advantage just because of the lack of intel that they have on Trine's positions. And there goes Squirrely to catch somebody trying to rotate towards that classroom area. Nice angle from him, but again, Fisher just operating on low intel, even despite all of the advantages they have in terms of map control.
Well, Yali going to go ahead and open up the floor hatch. That is the Hibana's role after all. 2v5, though. I don't think it really matters how many hatches you open up at the end of the day. It won't salvage that. You never know. Stranger things have happened at sea, but only rarely. Yali actually now probing the stairs down to laundry. I don't think quite feels comfortable dropping in on any angle. Robe tossing the frag grenade overhead. Doesn't find the target they want, so the next frag grenade will come out. They need to play this very carefully. Kyrios Mars is waiting, and they'll collect Robe as easily as you please. That leaves everything on the back of Yali, who has an obscenely large sight attached to such a small gun, by the way. And will, I think, probably drop E-Box here. If they're brave. No, okay, basement stairs instead.
Basement stairs it is. Fighting the Kickstar charm, but I mean, you're gonna need more than a legend to help you clutch out a round like that. It is Fisher, or not Fisher, but Trine to close out that round in their favor. And we talked about it. It wasn't really the pacing that round from Fisher. I felt like that was fine. It was just really not droning out top of freezer, not using that freezer hatch to help them in order to properly kill the Thunderbird with that shotgun who got 2 picks. Really shouldn't be happening, and Fisher let it happen.
Again, it's the intel game. It's just not good from either team, and it almost seems like it changes. And one of the reasons I think this might have been so close is it seems to change round to round. Sometimes Fisher has a slight edge or guesses right, and sometimes Trine has a slight edge or guesses right, and they both guess wrong an awful lot. And you think about that kill that was obtained by Mini Muma at the top of the freezer stairs. Not the sort of thing that should be allowed to happen, right? It just shouldn't be allowed to happen. That Thunderbird should not feel comfortable sitting in that position. You have enough drones to make sure that doesn't happen as well, but it is what it is. Back up to the primary bomb site we go. Second floor dorms is going to be the beast that Fisher will have to conquer. They're going to bring a Thatcher this time, something they neglected the first time around. Maverick in here as well, so setting up for the double angle push. Again, last time Fisher was up here, they actually had pretty good penetration on the first line of defense. They just weren't able to seal the deal because it ended in a very sort of awkward push. And I hope beyond hope here, Sugar, that they do not get caught out by Squirrely just sitting in big tower.
It looks like maybe they finally droned him out. I'm not too sure. The drone kind of got cut out before we could even really have any full intel in that situation. Fisher's taking their time, so even if they're taking their time, this should mean that they are droning out the map, and that was weird, that they are taking care in terms of their intel gathering and how they're able to work these picks early. But at the moment, though, nothing is going through for either one of these teams. And it's not too uncommon, at least in this matchup, to see both teams or to see Fisher take it slow yet. And the proximity alarm gives off that positioning or that push there from Fisher. It looks like most of them are just set up on the top of main.
Mini Muma opens up with the gun at point blank range, wipes Yali off the board. Maple, though, quick response. And here they go. The Maverick getting to work on an attic that is sorely undefended. The only person nearby is Kyrios Mars, and they are not watching for it. Yeah, anyone? Attic? No? Okay. Well, enjoy walking in there, Fisher Gang, if you can get in through that wall, which you should be able to do. And, yeah, enjoy walking up into Trophy as well. A lot of space being taken here by the side of Fisher and Trine really just hitting the bricks. Very similar to what they did last round, tightening up their defense on the backside of this point, or at least back relative to what's happening here on screen.
At least they have some utility to play behind in terms of those wide disc maggots, but it just so happens that their Mini Muma is in the middle of charging for a magnet right when the execution might be happening at any moment. At least they still have 2 more smoke grenades, using that one knocking him down to 2 in order to waste about 15 seconds of time. That was very awkward. Yeah, I saw that too.
Okay, good.
Now that was awkward.
What is going on? Okay. Maple gets blasted in the doorway. Beers eats it back up on the other side, or Beezer, I should say, eats it back up on the other side. Rope, though, jumps in for the kills. Kyrios Mars caught looking, and here comes the plant. Squirrely, the only one left off, is going to have to run up those dorm stairs ASAP if they want to counter this back out, but they're going to walk face first into the 3 guns of the raiding Fisher team members. Squirrely here, poised on the door. Oh, boy. I don't think this one's going to quite work out in Squirrely's favor. Lord knows they want it to, though, and they're not going to give up. They get hit by the impact grenades, or I should say the lifeline charges of the Zofia. Squirrely steps up to bat yet again. Got to admire their gumption. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you with those no's. I just couldn't believe what I thought I was going to see happening right there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sugar, but it was on a reinforced wall, right? Like I didn't imagine that.
You're talking about the sledge or the
I was talking about the nitro cell that Kaid had placed, waiting for Sledge to come through the hole. It
Yeah.
was on the reinforced. Oh,
no,
my
you're correct. It was on the
goodness
reinforced
gracious!
panel.
Oh, my lord!
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
We all do a little bit of trolling. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. I'll just put it in that. I'll put it in that box. I don't understand what the thought process was, but you know, Fisher played that I thought pretty well that time, Sugar.
Mm-hmm. We're able to clear out what they struggled with on the same site in that previous round. They made sure that they didn't struggle with it again. Those power positions, especially Attic, was a big question mark for them, especially with the way they ended off that not the previous round, but the round way before that on this same site that we're seeing here from Trine. But in that last round, it was just Trine giving up space really, really easily. They were forced out of those power positions just because of the numbers of Fishers just overwhelming them in those power positions. You think of Attic, especially Trophy, with most of the push from Fisher coming up that main stairs, even though they got one Trine, you know, still a lot of bodies to focus on for Big O Killer, who's holding that position down, or Mini Muma, sorry.
Indeed. Mini Muma has gladly taken on the role of this trophy hold both times, and a lot of util is invested in there to guarantee that Mini Muma survives. A lot of util. That's 2 magnets and I think all 3 ADSs. So everything in the kitchen sink being thrown in through the master bedroom door right there. Squirrely, though, will pick up the first kill. It's Robe going down, so that's the Sledge off the board and 2 frag grenades removed. I think the only frag grenades they had in this lineup. Still, this is working out. Never mind. Beezer gets absolutely gassed on the window up there. Up steps the potential entry. It will not happen. Maple fortunate to pull down a kill of Big O Killa, but not looking particularly great here for Fisher early on in this round.
Yeah, I mean, they do a great job of clearing Trophy, using their utility to make this position obsolete for the most part, but in doing so, they wasted a lot of utility, almost all of it, and they wasted all of their hard breach utility on that closet wall inside of games in which they did not get open, by the way, because of Curious Mars's excellent Kai tricking. So they didn't get this wall open. They don't have that extra sleight of sign to work with. And with that being said, they're going to have to force their way inside of choke points, such as that master bedroom window, which can be easily countered with positioning that Martini's playing. Also, Trophy, you don't want to just rush yourself into these doorways just because of how easy it is for the defense to be able to counter you just by simply aiming and shooting. But that's the position that Fisher are in right now, as they just rush right on in. Maple dying to Curious Mars.
Curious Mars has just been collecting kills, inattentive kills from the Fisher side. Squirrely here challenging on the low stairs window, trying to find a target. Won't quite do it. Cappy on the big window now, firing back the opposite direction, but with only about 30 seconds, make that 20 seconds left on the clock. What are we doing here, Fisher? Squirrely just eats Yali alive, and that leaves Cappy, the only one left here, in an unenviable position. Not really anything Cappy can do about this. They either just back off and wait it out, or they try and win out the gunfight. Instead, they are killed by a run out from Squirrely, and that is a humiliating round there for Fisher, I must say. I mean, I understand, I guess, where Yali was coming from right there, just kind of jumping in and trying to do something, but I think that Fisher has made that mistake a few too many times here for me to feel entirely comfortable with. They really force things in the last parts of the round that just don't work out.
Yeah. And also just the amount of utility that they wasted on that trophy push was absolutely astounding when you think about it, as well as that amount of utility that they wasted on that walk-in closet push for it not to have... They wasted all 3 MPs, all of the X-Kairos, all of that to not have a single wall open. Not added, not walk-in closet. So I'm very curious. That's the type of round that I want to watch back and watch it back based on utility alone, because I want to see how in the hell Fisher literally wasted all of their EMPs and all of those X Kairos and did not have a single wall open. That's what's
Yeah, I
throwing me.
agree. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. There wasn't enough projectile denial to account for all of it. Is where it starts to break down. Okay, I don't know what's going on with this defensive setup. If they had chosen to rush another round, I think Fisher, well, might have actually gotten some traction here. Mini Muma playing at the top of the stairs, waiting for somebody to walk into the sight line as the rest of the Fisher members start to make their way forward. Maple here just checking down. They're very cautious about the doorways in this hallway right now, as they should be, based on what happened last time. Regardless, I mean, making good headway here, and out comes the drones. This is something I feel like has been a little bit lacking from Fisher, so I'm happy to see it in action. And Mini Muma, if they think that they can pull something similar to what they did previously, they might be in for a bit of a rude awakening.
The difference here is that Mini Muma isn't as advancedly pushed up towards those freezing stairs as they were last time, being pushed back by the concussive nades, but no way!
No! Drones!
Oh, Lord, have mercy, Fisher. 2 kills given up in Mini Muma's favor. And that's a really good start from Trine, but Fisher had a really good start to that round, forcing Mini Muma back, but can't find the open pick onto him to make it so they end up in a better positioning. And like you mentioned, just the lack of intel there on Mini Muma's positioning to allow him to get that double kill.
Yeah, drones, that's all I'm going to say. They exist for a reason. Like, you did better that time clearing that out. Mini Muma, though, still pulled the same trick, just in a slightly different location. And now, I mean, Fisher has almost certainly punched themselves a ticket to a 2v4 here before they take over on the defensive half. There's ways that they could turn this around. I just don't think they're going to. Look at this. Mini Muma just steps out in from cover again and tries to get a kill. Fortunate that they didn't actually bring down anyone but Yali, who's only DBNO. Cappy now pushing in from another direction as Robe steps forward. They've got sightlines to play off of right here. But again, Mini Muma, I think, unmarked in this position, could just step out of cover at any moment and probably annihilate Robe. Robe doesn't seem aware, and there it is. Mini Muma steps forward, misses the shots, though. Can't be missing the shots, gets him the second time around, and that leaves everything on the shoulder of Cappy as both their teammates are down but not out. Cappy trying very hard, will actually pick up a kill on Mini Muma, has to go for a reload here. 51 bullets in the gun. It is not enough. And Mini Muma really just eviscerates the attack from Fisher right there as they request a well-deserved timeout. Nope. Don't know. Oh, there you are. I wasn't sure if we'd lost you or if you were just stunned into silence.
No, I wasn't stunned into silence. I was speaking this whole time, but like a little smart Alec, I forgot to unmute my mic.
Fair enough.
Clearing my throat, I had to leave that off the stream. You guys don't want to hear me just cough up phlegm. But even then, regardless of that, the first timeout that we see all evening, and it comes from Fisher, just as they're about to make that switch over to the defense. And I mean, the last few attacks, right, especially on the basement site, completely got disconstructed, all because of Mini Muma. All because of the lack of intel on his positioning over by those freezer stairs. They seem to have an issue when it comes to pushing down freezer and trying to make some sort of clear work on that specific area of the map. Not the middle floor, not the top floor, because there is no roam from Trine, but just clearing out freezer just because of one player who seems to consistently be in positions to catch Fisher off guard. Now we see them on his defense, and Fisher having that little bit of a talk, having that conversation in between one another, that coming together, that campfire song, SONG, SpongeBob. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's figure out what we can do now in this defense to bring this game back in our favor and finally take map 3 when we had that lead coming into map 2.
I mean, I wonder if it's enough to kind of motivate them. You know, to be fair, Fisher has looked better on the defense, right? Like, that's just the case.
Yes, that's both have.
Yeah, they both have. So, I mean, I think if there's an opportunity here for Fisher to level this up or even take this in for a win, they'll do it here on the defensive side. It's just, I don't know if they've kind of gone too deep in where it's just not going to really theoretically be possible for them to bring it around. Maple here sort of peeking, waiting. A lot of peeking from the side of Fisher, which I think is a pretty dangerous strat at this point in time. Maple is fully droned out right there and just falls back. And again, it is a basement site, but look at this stack up on blue. A good little bit of chicanery here from the side of Trine, I think, has convinced Fisher that they're looking at a wide push, or maybe a push coming from multiple directions. Instead, it's a rush in there. Robe nearly gets caught reloading. He won't. Yali goes for the nitro cell here as well and picks up a kill, and I think that's probably broken it wide open. Yali can't bring another one down, but the 4v3, any effort they had of running back in here just did not work. Robe is lucky, by the way, that they're able to escape with that with their life. The Volcan of Maple doing major heavy lifting right there to slow that down.
Yeah, it was a construction push off rip from Trine that got slowed down and spat out by those Goyo canisters with Mini Muma falling first. Trying to make it a 3v3 from, I believe that was Martini making his big rotate up those rear stage stairs or down the rear stage stairs. Finds that pick, then rotates back up to help the lone Habano Big O Killer to open up that E-box hatch and make that position obsolete. But what they gotta be careful of is the big flank here from Beezer that catches Big O Killer off guard, putting us at a 3v2. It's actually 2 players from Fisher retaking on this first floor.
Oh, Martini just gets caught looking. Didn't even know where he got shot from. Robe throwing out the smokes right there, trying to slow things down. Robe finishes off Martini with it. Kyrios Mars now looking in through E-Box. Nearly gets whacked there on the door, but will survive. Only momentarily, though, because Beezer's waiting to gun him down. Beezer loves these defensive flanks. Absolutely loves them and nails them more times than not.
Well, trying to win for something in that early round. They tried to go for a Fisher, but it just didn't work out the same way. The time wasting util on that door of construction was huge in ensuring that Trine could really push together as a team. Mini Muma going in first, dying first, and also dying alone too, with no immediate trade value there from Trine. And even though they made that a 3v3, it just didn't even seem like the attack was really going anywhere. They opened the E-Box, they did all of the important stuff, but then you saw the double flank coming in from Fisher, and Beezer was the only one of those two getting a 2K. So a successful defense on the basement site there from Fisher. Now we see them move on into kids. Could we see the same trend from Trine on the attack as we have seen from both of these teams on the earlier 2 matches? Happening now.
Yep, it feels like we've watched this little bit of tape before, I must admit, and it's worked out for Trine. It's also worked out for Fisher, so who can really say where it's going to end up? If you had told me before last round that Fisher was going to lose and Trine was going to win, I think I would have believed you, but based off of what happened last round, I'd be a little bit more inclined to side with Fisher, just because Trine looked a little up a creek without a paddle right there. Maple stepping out for the big run out. That's very bold, but won't find anyone at all. Yali here on the Azami with a whole barricade of their own. They step up boldly into the doorway of the master bedroom and are lucky they don't get hit for their trouble. As the members of Trine slowly try to build up a setup they feel comfortable with here. They have not divested any of the key players, though, on the Fisher side.
Ooh, Beezer opens up this round with the first kill on Squirrely. I believe that was down below in meeting because I don't see any line of sight. Yeah, that was most definitely down in meeting because there was no line of sight in the attic. But Shield gets destroyed, and soon after Yali falls as well. So one-on-one trade, both teams losing one and also gaining one back. At the moment, though, you know, try and get those, at least they get that trade, they get that pick. Where does it end up for them? The Jaeger gets away with his life too, because that was a crucial kill from Maple to ensure that that rotation up those white stairs actually comes off for Cappy.
Slow build, as per. 1 minute and 25 seconds left on the clock. We'll see if somebody breaks the seal here. Certainly Big O'Killa trying to break open the closet wall, and will do so. Exothermic there blowing a mighty big hole into games. That's immediately covered. There's a Volcon there as well, which I believe was just detonated. Maple, meanwhile, continues to roam free. And he's got a friend with him there as well. I believe that's Cappy, who's also on the free range beat. So both of them still a significant threat here to the members of Trine as they push their way forward. Here comes Maple stepping up. Could be the crossfire they need. EMP grenades flying in right there. The Volcans worth their weight in gold as Maple finds Mini Muma with the Nitro Cell. And that probably signs the death warrant here of the remaining two Trine members, though we have seen them battle back from challenging situations before. The gunfire all pointed in their direction. Now the smoke grenades are coming out. Absolute chaos here for these last two members of Trine. And Big O'Killa taking a couple of tick-down hits there from smoke or from fire. That leaves Marquini. Marquini steps up. Marquini gets one and then is brought down on his own. Big O'Killer, the only one left. Plenty of smoke there if he wants to breathe it in. He does it. Beezer half peeks on the doorway. Beezer steps into the firing line. And Big O'Killa goes down. So the defense for Fisher starting to cook.
Starting to cook, and it's starting to sizzle as well on that second floor defense. Fisher go 2 for 2, taking out their primary and secondary site choices. Now going on to the tertiary site, which is Meeting Hall Kitchen. And for the most part, I felt like it's the same thing that I said on Chalet for Trine. It seems like they have like a general idea of what they want to do, but it doesn't feel like they're going in the right direction for their attacks. And I mean, they did a good job of like clearing that bedroom. They did a good job of getting that closet wall open. They did a decent job of clearing Trophy. You saw the white stairs push as well, attempting to come on through from Trine, but they just couldn't find a way to make that work and pull off pressure elsewhere, even despite all of that pressure that they had on Trophy and Master Bedroom and that game 12 too. So again, not really having those one-dimensional pushes and then not really having that pressure elsewhere kind of screws them over a little bit. Plus, the delay utility there from Fisher using the Doyle canisters on one doorway, using the smoke canisters to hold off that push on the main wall in games as well. So pretty nice stuff there from Fisher, but back to the drawing board for Trine.
Back to the drawing board indeed. And I mean, we've saw on Cafe that Trine did get kind of, you know, wasn't great on their their attacking half, but they did eventually kind of find a rhythm that they were comfortable with. So I wouldn't rule out that happening again. I also genuinely would not rule out this matchup going to true overtime here at the end of this. I think that's entirely within the realm of possibility, just the way these two teams have been playing. Taking a look here, initial point of contact is almost certainly going to be, I think, Beezer, who usually secures the first kill on these defensive rounds, and they're pushing up pretty aggressively here in Meeting. You've also got Robe located around security. Interesting, though, Squirrely walking in through basement. Tons of real estate there for the Iana to just make their way around here and try and take up a sort of flanking position looking towards the bomb site.
If he can find the kill here on Beezer, that frees up this Meeting Hall side. I'm surprised that Fisher doesn't really have a setup on this side of the map where Squirrely is. And in doing so, they give up a lot of space here to try and speaking of, find that first pick. And it just so happens that Yali's off to the board. That's not really the pick I was looking for. I don't really know where Yali was. I'm mainly looking at how this backstage presser deals with Beezer, who had fallen off into basement, giving up that side control freely. Kills rang out, but it's still trying to be in the lead in terms of man count.
Kyrios Mars has picked up 2 on this round. It was Maple and it was Yali. Not the most critical kills in this lineup, given the operators that they are, but still not ones you want to give up. Beezer just finding kills for free, but Marquini catches him looking. Cappy there falling back right now. Does have the diffuser in their sights. That's a really good position for the Jaeger to be in, especially with the intel gaps that have been shown, and Marquini misdroning it. Marquini will pick it up the second time around, and that means Cappy has to play heads up right here. Robe rotating around the other side, opens up a big hole in the wall with the shotgun. They're trying to find another angle. It won't work out. They need to be very careful down there, though. Squirrely now approaching towards security corridor, steps in. I don't think there's anybody watching this angle, so that could be the end if they choose to press it. And no, everybody just takes a beat right here. Marquini sets off a proximity alarm, steps around. The Thatcher looking down the sights of the gun, doesn't quite find the target. Challenged right there by Robe, but it won't quite work out for either of them. Instead, it's Marquini who loses the battle against the shotgun. And now Squirrely steps up into the entryway and is absolutely blasted. Another shotgun kill there to add to the tally.
This is just me. I felt like Trine were a little bit slow in making that pressure count, especially when you had the rear stairs pressure. You had lobby pressure as well. You can open up the single panel, find a way to make it so that Beezer can have an impact on that side of the map. You can even account that to the fact that there is a castle barricade in that kitchen in that connector hallway between meeting and kitchen. But even then, I felt like the pressure from Trine wasn't really going anywhere because they were taking too long to make something happen. And so in doing that, Fisher made things happen for them, especially Beezer, who he was so easily pinchable inside a meeting, and they couldn't find a way to make that work. So, no, good step there from Beezer to find that 2K on the flank, but again, it's the same thing that we said. There just seems to be a lack of, not really time management. There is that, but also just them not really moving quick enough to take advantage of what they have.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and
Not taking advantage of what they have. I agree. And again, the slow pacing, I mean, that's just been a critical, problem for both of these squads. It's not changed on this map at all. And you would think that there were situations on that previous defense, too, where if they just put a little bit more speed on it, it would have actually worked out. Beezer, this is no way this works. Thank you, Mini Muma. Sends the drone in. No, don't miss drone this. Oh, no. This is too close. This is like serial killer stuff. Mini Muma has to know. There's no way Beezer misses the shot. Wide open on Mini Muma and can't find the kill. We'll get revenge by finding Kyrios Mars instead. But the big opener there, a missed opportunity. Oh, Beezer, run. He's getting shot from 6 different angles at once, and he falls back into coverage. What a clumsy punch-drunk start to the round. Yali putting Squirrely down and making me feel a little bit more comfortable about both these teams.
You saying Beezer run reminds me of Run Forest Run.
Yeah, just need to get out.
Run Beezer run. Okay, well he can't run no more. He shot a hard angle across attic. Was holding it and gets absolutely knocked out by Marquini. So after all of the kills have been said and done, you still have some hard breach charges to work with. They use one to open up the E-box hatch from meeting, and you also still have one more to work with. Again, it's just about converting what you have into something. There is no hold on pillar for the most part. Fisher are playing further back, looking to soak up all of this pressure, maybe use their utility, use those yokai drones in order to deny the push here from Fisher, in order to slow it down. with 45 seconds left on the clock.
45 seconds to go. Cappy holding it tight. 3-3 is the count. This is a big round for Fisher. They can put themselves on match point. If they play it right, they don't. Marquini gets one. Robe gets the other. Here comes the Yokai denial right at the last possible second, but still 25 seconds left on the clock. Mini Mumon gets caught by the smoke grenade. You are kidding me. Robe stepping up now to the elbow, but it's Yali who finds the kill on Big O. And Fisher will go to match point in one of the kookiest rounds I think I have seen in a very long time.
It was a tough end of the round for Fisher, or not Fisher, sorry, for try to be able to pull off, especially with the amount of delay utility, the yokais, the smokes, and they still tried to force a way inside of sight. I don't really think they knew what the setup was like from Fisher in the first place. Otherwise, I don't think they would have tried to force for a plant, but they did. That was very surprising that they tried to force for a plant with smokes.
I agree.
And Echo on the board. I thought that was very odd. But they did, and Fisher used their utility correctly and properly.
They did. They played it exactly how you would expect those two operators to play, and I think they had enough time there where Trine probably could have gone and hunted one or both of those guys down before they were in a scenario where they were desperate to get a plant. But yeah, they definitely could have got the smoke, I think. I agree. But I don't know. I mean, another issue that I think both of these teams have kind of had pretty consistently is in late game situations, the decision making does get a little frantic, in my opinion. And I think that was a good example of that. Trine just sort of struggling for answers right there. And I don't think that's entirely unexpected, right? It takes a pretty strong IGL to make really solid late round calls in very stressful situations. And it's a learning process as well. Maple!
Oh, no.
Brother. Come on.
Oh, no.
Bold. Very bold. Little too bold.
That's just... What do you even say to that? I think that's just unlucky. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Hit the wall.
And then just some whip shots, but yeah, unfortunate for Fisher to be able to lose the Goyo pretty early. And you still have Yali behind the bed who's propped up, so they could probably see her if they just looked in. But they don't. Instead, they're droning this out.
No
Yali
way.
gets away with her life. Surprisingly, nobody watching the doorway as she's running away. But finally, she oversteps her boundaries, gets punished for it. And it's another run out. No way. Please stop.
Cappy, no. You've already seen what happens if you get caught out there. You die. Well, it's been a good start here for Trine. Not really by Trine's skill, more just by the accord that Fisher has helped them along. Oh my lord, I thought Beezer was going to get clipped by the exothermic. Instead, Beezer just jumps out and guns down Big O Killa. Face first, no hesitation whatsoever on that breach. Beezer's going to do it again. Beezer does it one more time, but gets caught by the frag on the backside, and you hate to see such boldness punished with a big explosion, but it was.
First, I thought I didn't get a good glimpse of Cappy going up those white stairs up until we just got that overhead view. So I thought that was an attack, and I was like, where the hell is Cappy? Well, he is on the white stairs. That's him. He's him, but it's yet to be seen if he's actually him inside of this round. He has to make something happen with this position, but that's going to be very hard considering you have big window being held from Trine. A lot of good positionings for Trine to be able to work off of something here. They have the game's room wide on open. That smoke not delaying the plant up until it's thrown a second time, but the plant does go through, squirrely dying to the smoke, and that even out the man count.
Now, Mini Muma steps up forward, gets one. Now, this is about as critical as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. 1v1. Diffuser timeline running down. Cappy versus Mini Muma. Mini Muma's absolutely bamboozled him. Comes around the corner of Trophy, finds the Jaeger looking the wrong way, and keeps Trine alive for yet another crack at Oregon on round 12.
the early deaths not really working in Fisher's favor, as Trine for most of that round just had the man advantage, and they also just had the positionings on Fisher even up until the execution. So yeah, just odd stuff going on there from Fisher as they try to go for those early peaks. They get punished for it, and Trine potentially could put us into OT. Yeah, that's crazy, especially even here on the third map where we are technically in OT in terms of like our map count at the moment.
I don't know. I don't know that we'll go to overtime. I just think the reason I say that is because I think if Fisher had not been overly aggressive on those first two deaths, I mean, Yali wasn't really actually overly aggressive, just not a very good spot to get caught in. But I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that the other one, that was just Maple biting off more than they can chew. If they can avoid that, I think they probably would have won that round, honestly. So I don't think there's a guarantee here in the sense that, you know, this is Trine's comeback moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if Trine evens this up. I also would not be surprised if Fisher walks it in. And I know that's the worst like middle ground to take here, Sugar, but honestly, this has been a weird game between these two. It's been very close.
Oh, Maple might be encountering some contact. Decides to not take the early gunfight. Learned from his lesson in the early round, but this time it's a lot different, seeing as he hasn't just run out in the middle of the map. Not really in the middle of the map, but outside in general, exposing himself to the elements of the attackers. Instead, forces his way back. What you see right now, for the most part, most of this pressure, okay, Maple did actually go out for that run out. That's crazy that he tried to do it again, and he almost dies to it. So, a minute has already passed, and despite really having a lot of pressure there, a lot of control around Trophy, around Master Bedroom, this control given to Trine, considering that there was no setup here for Fisher, a minute has already gone by. So let's see how Trine work off of this.
Well, no deaths yet. Minute 30 in, so they're pacing that at least. Nitrocell going up through the floor. Detonated in the wrong place, but it was a nice try. Won't quite find Mini Muma, who waits above. Mini Muma stepping up. The Goyo Volcans all over the place. Just a bunch of fire. Doesn't slow anyone down, but the ADSs will delay. Good smoke being deployed right there by Robe to hopefully deter these attackers for just a moment. Maple is set up with a potential brutal crossfire right here, assuming they don't get caught out. Another smoke grenade could be forthcoming here from Robe. He's got the canister in hand. He's waiting for the opportunity. Hasn't yet chosen to throw it. Here it comes. And that'll again deny this closet entry.
Well, time is getting a little bit low here from Trine. You have to think that nerves are probably starting to set in, or to just they're waiting until Fisher use all of their utility, but Squirrely looks away at the crucial moment. I really don't know why he looked away there. That was really odd on the timing. But Maple is also there to find another kill here for Fisher. Time again is getting low, and while Trine are here to try and soak up some utility from Fisher, actually make this push happen. You still, well, actually no, they've managed to soak out all of this utility, but they just run right into the crossfires, and from that position, it's denied. Fisher win map number 3 of Oregon. The score 2-1 in our best of 3 here in the last game of the ECAC Fall 22.
Oh, a close one, though. A close one. Right to the bitter end right there. We didn't quite hit super overtime, but I think we were damn close. And the ending, unfortunately, a little too common of an issue that had occurred across those maps. We saw people run into crossfires a fair bit there, Sugar. I'm thinking, you know, funny enough, bless him, but we saw the exact same thing happen to Fisher on that exact same bomb site, just across the hallway from Games Room in the attic area. They all tried funneling through the same breach and all got cut to pieces. Interesting matchup, a weird one in a lot of ways, but those two teams did feel very evenly matched.
Yeah, it was just an unfortunate end for Trine University in that last round, not being able to make that White Stairs pressure work. So that's why that crossfire happened the way that it did. And I also don't think they had any vision denial, like no smokes or anything, to block off that angle from working the way that it did against the player running into that main breach of walk-in closet. So that's just unfortunate, you know what I mean? We have those days, and
Yeah.
it just
It's
so
difficult.
happens that it's Trine University's time to have those days. It's unfortunate. It's Siege. It's the game. It's esports. What can you say?
It's esports indeed. Well, we're not quite done with esports here tonight on the ECAC. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be right back with an interview with one of the victorious Fisher College players after that. See you in a moment.
So cute. UCF, and it's really cute. So I'm gonna move down here. How do we feel? The odds for UCF? What are we thinking?
They got it. No, we got this. We got it. We got it. Go Knights. Charge on.
100%. My friend Nick is behind you. He's gonna record it. Don't look at him. You'll ruin the shot. Don't look at him. Don't look at him.
Come on.
Oh,
let's go! Let's go!
My smile's probably really creepy. I was just being weird. Oh, I love being in the shadows, though. Big shout out to the shadows. We could interview Dilly just because I think he's handsome. You weren't supposed to hear it.
Here's the thing about the event. I'm the greatest that's ever lived.
Literally true. I know him.
I think everyone knows that. I think everyone's aware of that.
Hey, do you have a VIP access badge on?
I actually have an all access.
Oh, an all access. I thought it said VIP access.
And that's only available for the best.
That's true. He's right. That's a main stage TO right there.
If this goes live, I'm suing everybody.
It's all right. A video of me. The first clip is me saying, "Don't put that in," and then it was the first. Cut the cameras. Cut the cameras. Oh, you're recording already? Great. So this is this is Bay State versus UCF. I believe something that we saw yesterday on day one of the tournament, but instead we're gonna have that run back here. I think they're fighting for a spot in Grand Finals. Anarchy, one of the best Greninja players in the United States, currently struggling against a Terry. Terry notorious for that DLC privilege, being a very strong character with some very strong abilities. Greninja, not so much, considered one of the weaker characters in the game. A Falco player, one of the best in the United States, and he just got spiked by a Terry. Same Terry that took out Anarchy literally minutes ago. UCF still up by 2 stocks. This guy is looking to rip this team apart single-handedly. That is, I mean, nuts, to say the very least. Absolutely absurd. That was a disgusting spike. I cannot believe that happened. Will you hold the microphone so I can sign this? Sorry.
For context, he's got a fan. He's actually signing something. He's so excited.
What was it like to not hear my voice for 2 minutes? For 30 seconds, maybe. What was it like? Probably bliss. I was signing a mouse pad, which is really cool. I've never done that before. Nobody's ever asked me for a signature, so I'm going to start blushing, but I'm really excited about that. And then he wants a picture. Can you take a picture of us? I said, is it bad? She went, no. I'm going to go ahead and take that as a yes.
Turns out I can't tie a tie sitting down.
What do you think is the appropriate face-to-screen ratio for a Valorant player?
Face to screen, like how close I sit?
Yeah, like how close should a player sit?
Personally, I play really, really close. I think it depends on your eyesight, but for me, I like playing close because it helps me focus on my crosshair.
Is the value of sitting close, the crosshair being the only thing in your line of sight?
Yeah, that's pretty much the main benefit of it.
It's so funny how close some of these guys sit. Oh my goodness. What do you think is the healthy face-to-screen distance for a Valorant player?
I think it's all kind of personal preference. I guess I would consider myself like pretty close when I play because I like to like zone in on my crosshair.
It is the second person to say that. It's all about the crosshair. And then what's up with the horizontal keyboard?
I don't know, like it just kind of fits like the form when I'm close to monitor. Like I don't know, it might sound cringy, but I like to like be one with my gun. You know?
No, bro, I feel it. I feel it absolutely. What is going on, everybody? I am here with some UCF fans. How are we feeling about UCF? Let's go! Let's go!
We've got a bunch of UCF fans in the crowd right now. UCF, they're up by a single game. They're looking to find their third and possibly final, secure a spot moving forward. Things looking great for them against Northwood here today. This guy's playing Minecraft right now. He keeps double building instead of placing the dirt. Pressure's on, man. Everybody's watching. Just kidding. Just me. Cameraman's not over here. Just kidding. He's behind you. There's actually always cameras on you if I'm around. Do you double build all of those? No excuses, bro.
I can't play Minecraft.
Your college esports Minecraft team absolutely rolled. L after L here. Let's hope UCF has a little better luck on stage, huh? What is going on, everybody? I am Septilins. I have the honor of welcoming you to the Collegiate Esport Commissioners Cup here in Atlanta, Georgia. All right, that was good. That was good. Good content. Good content.
My name is Dusty. I'm 24 years old, and this is my first year at Bay State College and first year towards my bachelor's there. But I've been going to college for a few years now, or several years now.
Cool. What are you studying?
Right now, I am studying human resource management in
Nice.
business. Yeah.
Do you like Bay State so far?
Yes. Yeah. It's been pretty good so far. It's only been one quarter, but I like it so far. So.
Where are you from?
I'm from SoCal. I'm doing it remotely from Southern California.
So, what games do you play? What's your main game?
My main game is Smash Brothers, and that's what I compete in. So Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back here to the ECAC. It's Rainbow Six Siege Week 8, and we just finished an exciting match between Fisher College and their opponents at Trine University. And we have one of the victorious Fisher players here in the lobby with us for a quick interview. It'll be Beezer. So welcome, Beezer, aboard. Congratulations on your win. You played great tonight. It was a great pleasure to watch.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. It was fun. It was hard, but it was fun.
Definitely a hard-fought slog. Well, I know Suga has some questions for you, so I'll let them start off here.
First question that I wanted to ask was, I first wanted to congratulate you guys on your win. It was a hard-fought one, and then you end off the ECAC regular season with a win. But there were some noticeable struggles from not just you, but also Trine when it came to the attack, and most notably when it came to the execution phase, and also some funny moments with intel gathering. It's a very broad question, but I just kind of want more of your insight on the attacks for your team going into this matchup, or even just throughout the whole matchup.
Yeah, so for Fisher, I'm actually the IGL. I call pretty much all the executes. But with that being said, I'm not a IGL. I'm the only one with IGL experience. So we are still unfortunately playing with our coach, Yali, and also Robe, who came from the Overwatch team. I basically had to teach him Siege from the ground up in a matter of a week or two. So there's still that lack of understanding of execute positions, and it kind of makes it difficult, but we're working through it. Every day we're VOD reviewing, practicing, just trying to make sure that we can work through the struggles, and hopefully by next semester spring have a full roster and make sure Yali's able to coach and actually get that broad view of what's going wrong so we can talk about it more in depth.
Okay. And so my second question is, I guess, more related to Yali, since she is mainly the coach for Fisher University. How does that work for you? How does she fit in when it comes to having that extra voice during not only the timeout section, because you get to talk to your coaches during the timeouts, I believe, but also how does she fit in when the game is actually going on?
Yeah, so there's actually not a lot of coaching going on during our games. It kind of just falls onto me again as trying to call when not to get aggressive, when to get aggressive. Yali has been taking the time to try to focus on her and self improvement in game, since obviously she's not a mechanical player. She's a coach, And so she's been taking a lot of time, like aim training and just not really being able to coach. So I've kind of taken on that more of a support role when it comes to IGLing and coaching. Not obviously I've been playing entry frag, but like with the team. So during that timeout, I talked about, hey, we've been playing structured the past two maps, then map and a half. It's time to just flip the switch, get crazy, start peeking everything. They're not going to expect it. We're going to be able to. Our Oregon defense is already pretty good, so we're just like, hey, peak everything. They're not going to be able to adapt in time, and it ended up working out for us.
Yeah, you guys got into some really aggressive peaks there on Oregon. It mostly worked. There was one or two times that it bit you a little bit, but that's okay. By the way, I would not have known that Robe was an Overwatch player transplant that you taught so quickly. Played actually pretty well, considering that, all things considered. Did you guys expect a big fight with Trine tonight, or did you think that this would be a little bit easier?
No, we definitely did expect a fight. We actually lost to them in another league.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was NECC or something else, but we did lose to them. So this was kind of a revenge tour for us. We did want to win and get our payback. But we do know there's a good team. Squirrely, uh, he just is my number. He's honestly a really good player, and every time I peek him, I'm like, oh my god, he's on alibi. I'm scared, but I'm not really that scared because at the end of the day, we are a better team. It's just the way it is. But they are a really good team, and they did really push us to our full potential that map in those games.
Yeah, it felt like you guys were getting pushed hard, and that's good. I mean, that's good for competition. Before we wrap up here, anybody you want to shout out? Anybody on the organization? Any of your players you felt did particularly well tonight? Anything like that?
Yeah, of course. Always shout out Fisher. They've been amazing to work with. Very supportive with anything that we need. Aaron, Brian, you know who you are. My team, obviously, Maple, literally my partner in crime. Anytime we take a gunfights, I'm always with him, and it's really easy to work with somebody that I have the full trust in. The rest of my team, Cappy, Robe, Yali, you guys played amazing, and I'm really proud of how we played today, and hopefully we can take the playoffs.
Well, thank you very much, Beezer. Congratulations on your win. Look forward to seeing you in the playoffs, and hope you guys have a nice celebratory evening here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for taking the time to do this. Appreciate it.
Of course. That'll do it for us here tonight on the ECAC. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big thanks to you, Sugar, for joining me here on the desk, and of course our producer and our observer. If you're interested in more esports action here at the ECAC, it's not quite done yet. Tomorrow you can catch some Valorant games. The schedule yet to be determined, but I'm sure they will be exciting matchups. Though for now, from all of us here at the ECAC, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful evening.
I don't know if I've been on a collegiate team before. I think this is my first collegiate team, but it is really nice, and the teammates are really supportive, and I've met some cool people, so that's nice. But I definitely do have experience like with teams, so uh, it's nothing like super new, but it's always good to be in a team, have that support.
A fresh team. Yeah, that's cool. So, how long have you been playing Smash?
I've been playing Smash for about like 7-ish years now. Well, I've kind of played it since I was like really young, but like competitively, I've played it like 7 years. I played since the release of Smash 4, which was the previous Smash game, and now I've played into Ultimate, so quite a while.
What has been your proudest moment since playing Smash?
That's hard to say because I've honestly had a lot of good moments. It's just I feel like every other week or every other month I have a new moment where I'm like, wow, that's the best I've ever played, which feels good and makes it, I keep going for stuff like that. But every time I play and I play a tournament set and it feels really good and I feel like I'm playing the best I've ever played, probably each of those consecutive moments. I just had a tournament a couple weekends ago in Las Vegas where I placed ninth out of nearly 400, I think, and I think that was one of the best I've ever played, and that felt really good. So that was a really big accomplishment for me.
So, you would definitely say over the past 7 years, you said that you've grown a lot in the game?
Yeah, I think I've grown a lot in the game, and I think I've also grown a lot just as a person too. Just like competition in general, and there's a lot of learning, and there's a lot of a lot of ways to approach it. I've learned how to teach other people as well because I do coaching as well, stuff like that. Um, so I've learned a lot through Smash. Yeah,
How long have you been doing the coaching part?
coaching I've been doing maybe a year and a half ish, maybe almost 2 years. I'm actually not sure on the number. I think a year ish, year and a half is probably closer to the right one. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun too. It's really interesting because it gives you a different perspective on the game, and not only are you helping other people, but you kind of help yourself in a way too because you can kind of see things from a different perspective, you know. So
How would you describe yourself? Do you like competing more or playing for fun or
I'm definitely more of a competitor. Ever since I was young, like I remember playing like board games um with like friends or something. I think I was waiting for them to play, and I think some of them were playing like just like house rules or whatever, and I was like really really young, and it like made me upset. I'm like, you guys aren't playing it the right way or whatever. But like I've always been a competitor, but at the same time, like you have to have fun because if you're only a competitor and you're only competing and it's all seriousness, like it's there's like a limit to that. So like you have to have fun. So definitely both, but I definitely lean towards the competitive sides of things. So I like optimizing things and seeing the best thing you can do because it all started out with like uh it all started out with it just being fun because when I was younger, I played different games and I originally just played them for fun and I played them all the time, but I played them so often and I got so good at them to the point where uh, it just started to naturally lean into the competitive side of things. And I was so good to the point where I was like, oh, okay, what can I do to make myself like better and how can I see this as like something I can improve at? So it kind of made like a transition a little bit, but so it's both.
if you were to give someone advice who may be looking into joining an esports team but they're kind of on the fence, what would you tell them?
My advice would be to really like think over what they're looking for like in not only in the collegiate esports team but in school as well and like see like exactly does this line up with what they really want and just to figure out what they really want and if it's going to be a good decision, from like a scholarly standpoint and from like a financial standpoint because there's a lot of things to consider, like I thought it over a lot before I realized, okay, yes, this is a really good decision, I should go for this, so that's something that should be considered. And also like the time frame as well because if you commit yourself to a collegiate team it could potentially be a long time, um, so just consider it and think through like all your options and don't ever make it like don't ever make a decision just off like an emotional reaction or anything like that. Just like, think it through, I guess.
So for you personally, how many hours do you think you game a week?
That's a good question. It's actually way less than it used to be, but before I would be putting in probably several hours a day into Smash. About a year ago, I was like really, really grinding it and put a lot of effort into it. But lately, like my priorities have shifted just a little bit, just because just because there's other things I need to focus on. Like I started working again recently and stuff like that. So it's taken a little bit of a backseat, but it's always something I focus on. So like even though I'm not necessarily playing all the time right now, I still try to get at least